Welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Fino, and we're back for another week. As you can see, Lucas and Cody aren't with us this week. So Dan has chosen chaos, and he's got me running this show. Dan, how was your week in Flesh and Blood?
Yeah, it's pretty chill. Haven't been playing too much since Nats kind of taking a break. Nats was the last, as we said last week. I think I pretty much didn't play, and then I made it out to Armory last night. Luckily, we still had a little bit of product, so I got to draft High Seas for like the fourth time in person. Set is still incredible. Love drafting it. I went ahead and after the event, I kept complaining that I've literally not hit anything in a gem pack yet. I think I opened between 20 and 30 gem pack ones, and literally all I've gotten is like normal card and then a rainbow foil card, not a single cold foil, nothing. Um, but since we had a bunch of extra gem pack ones, after the event, we got one gem pack two and two gem pack ones, so three total. It was also notably my birthday yesterday. So I had that like extreme birthday luck. I opened three cold foil weapons. Oh no, so I got cold foil boom grenade and two cold foil fang daggers. Just got the whole set. So I went from 0 hits to only hits. So that was cool.
No.
That is yeah, I spent last week dying. I'm not sure if it was obvious from the pod, but I was like barely maintaining my sanity. There was like streams of water coming out of my eyes. Every time we paused the podcast to do a transition, I would cough and I thought my throat was going to leave my throat. But I'm recovered now. I think part of this is like every time I start doing well at a tournament and I'm like, okay, this is the one. I can actually see myself doing well. And then I just completely shit the bed, for lack of a better word. My body also decides to just no longer function. It's like I feel the real world repercussions of my failure. So yeah, I was
I've seen
feeling
this
that.
multiple times. You just completely disintegrating in the
Yeah,
hotel
yeah, yeah.
room. It's like not functioning as a human.
Well,
Yeah,
they can be tied together the other way. Like I've noticed when I make like extreme punts, I'll like have a fever the next day. It's like, oh, I was just sick and not mentally well.
oh, for sure,
Like
it's all
that's
tied
also a
together.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But in Japan, like I slept maybe 3 hours a night on average, like leading up to the tournament and playing the tournament. And then after the tournament, it was like nothing happened because I did well. So like my body was like, all right, you get a reward of like not being sick. So it definitely has worked in my favor. I just don't do well that often. So I don't get to reap the benefits. But another like doing well thing, speaking of gem packs, actually, it's funny you brought that up. I
Hmm.
got to play, there's a new store local to me. Um, just like brand new, like just opened up kind of thing. And they want to focus on FAB. And we had a armory last night there with 24 people, which is like pretty sick for our area. We usually get, I don't know, like 12 to 16 is a good turnout. Um, and they did gem packs. Like if you went 3-0, you got a second gem pack. And I cracked open the gem packs and hit the Marvel Riptide, which was pretty hype. I didn't even know like what I could hit, and I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a very shiny card, and it was right in front of Jesse too. After he just learned that he didn't get the bonus jump pack, and then I pull a Riptide right in his face. So that was
So you
great.
got the Insta sale.
No, I'm keeping it. I lost my cold foil Riptide. Actually, to you in the past, Fino, you slash Jimmy off of a poor decision made. So now the karmic scales have righted each other, and I have the Marvel one because I like Riptide. Someday I'll play him, surely.
Oh, that's
Um,
true. You did like really jam him during Outsiders. I forgot about that.
yeah, yeah. Most of the decks where I play them in limited, I try to play them in constructed at some point eventually. Just sometimes it takes longer to do that. But yeah, I played Gravy, the button clicker simulator. Just like actually misplayed every single turn of the game, but somehow still won all my games because the deck is OP. So that was fun.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to be getting into that a bit more later, I think. My week in Flesh and Blood was also a little gravy related. I've been trying to learn how to play the deck a little bit, mostly focusing on like deck building and trying to understand like deck building theory and what I think is strong in the deck before I jump into a lot of my games and trying to outline my questions on my journey learning the deck because I'm not going to Singapore, so I'm using this time period to learn both Gravy and Verdance. So I'm trying to like really focus on mastering those two decks, and then as I'm sure some people saw, I was just streaming the coverage of the Nationals, and just kind of evaluating the games, trying to learn from them, going over different decisions players made and trying to understand why they did them. And I actually learned quite a bit, especially during the Verdance games. I think I actually even learned a new way to use my eruditions, or my Shariahs, rather, in Prism. So it was pretty educational. If you guys want to catch me streaming, just go to my YouTube channel. It's like YouTube.com/Fino or something like that. And I'm going to be doing some Gravy streaming in the near future, learning the deck. So feel free to join me on my adventures of learning Gravy. But yeah, so this past week in Flesh and Blood, we had the calling in Bologna, I believe is where it was. New won the event and ascended to living legend. I think we're a little excited about her getting out of here. So we're going to be talking about the impacts of that on the game, as well as the other impacts of Gravy on the game. Is this Gravy's world and we're just living in it? Let's start by looking at the calling, though, unless you guys have anything that you want to jump into before that.
No, all good. I like speed ran, watched the calling at like 2.5x speed before us doing this podcast, so I could have like as much context as possible.
Good, because I haven't watched it yet. I'm planning
Oh,
on
you
watching
haven't?
that.
Okay.
No. I'm planning on probably watching that again on stream or something like that, or at least just watching the games of the decks that I'm interested in. I just literally, as I was saying, finished watching Nationals like 2 days ago. Like
Fair.
maximum slow mode watching it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I caught all of day one. I don't think I saw any of day two. I saw like the last minute of the finals.
So in the top 8, we had 1 Gravy, 2 Vinsets, 2 Syndras, a Prism, a New, and an Azalea. I'm a little surprised by the Vinsets, though that is a pretty strong deck. Anything jump out at you guys about this top cut?
Yeah, so from watching day one, I don't know, it seemed like a very diverse field. I think that's what the meta share was saying too, but after the end of day one, your like top 32 or whatever was just like 2 of every deck in the game. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just like because the meta was so spread, it's just like some of the like the better players rose up with whatever deck they chose to bring, or it's actually like the deck's performing. Just kind of a weird phenomenon that there's like no consistent placing deck after day one, at least. So it seemed to have carried over. I would have expected more Gravies in top 8 though. Might be a week too soon still.
Yeah, only 22% of the Gravies even converted into day 2.
If you look though, it's kind of a weird calling. We don't get such luxuries, I feel, in the US, where like you can go 9-3 and top 8 of calling. That's pretty nice. And if you look at the 9-3s, there were 4 Gravies that were 9-3, but just like didn't make the top 8. So they were definitely there. That just not lucky enough to have the proper tiebreakers.
Okay, that's a good stat.
Yeah, and ironically, both the Vinsets were the ones who were 9-3.
Yeah, I'm guessing the Vinsets were like feeding on Syndra, and Syndra was feeding on Gravy.
Like,
Vincent was 7th and 8th seed, so that would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Vinsets speeding up on Syndra makes sense. I would assume it's also probably fine into Rangers of all sorts. I don't know. I'm very curious. I'm very curious how that matchup plays out into Gravy, because it's like you have a lot of pressure. You have some manner of unpreventable damage if you're doing like the arcane, right? You have lots of like 6s and 7s to be able to deal with the big allies, but you really don't have any way of dealing with allies that have like Sawbones and stuff. I don't know. Like, are you throwing a whole Eulogy plus a Go again into it? I noticed that one of the players was running Red Mauvrian Skies. So that could be a way of like, just, okay, if I'm ever going to attack an ally, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting value out of it and then still sending like a lot of damage face. And I think like the Gravy deck can really stall out if you're playing like an aggro Vinset style where you're just sending so much damage at the face. And I think it's just like pretty tough, because the Gravy, like, while they have resource cards, they want to keep their cards to be able to play them.
So I think an interesting comparison would be looking at Viserai v Dromai back in the day.
Yeah.
This matchup is going to play out very differently than that because of a couple different factors. But why that matchup was bad back in the day was because it would go Mauvrion Skies, kill your dragon, Rosetta kill your dragon, and they would clear your board every round, have lots of poppers so you weren't actually connecting any damage, and while they were clearing, they were still dealing functionally true damage to you because your deck is all red, so you're not pitching to AB really. Uh, so you just like guarantee take all this chip while losing your board and making no progress every round. Now, Vincent doesn't do that as well. You don't have a Rosetta. You're playing against a deck that is more than willing to pitch cards to AB. Like my deck is just all pitch cards on the gravy side. I'll pitch. It's not that deep. And you don't have the Phantasm problem. So, and on top of that, Vincent is a less efficient deck than Viserai is. Like Viserai back then was incredibly consistent at doing the Mauve Shrill Rosetta thing. You're not really doing that every single round on Vincent, but you might be presenting more arcane damage on average as Vincent if you want to build it that way. But again, I have pitch cards on the gravy side.
Yeah, if I was playing Vincent, I would look to handle it the same way I'm doing with Mario, and I would just play a couple head jabs. Like throw your Swarmer and Gloomveils in, or Rabble even. Like you're playing, what, like 52 reds in this deck?
Yeah. I mean, do you think you can really afford to burn your setup on those cards? Because if you're going to do those, you kind of have to do them first, right?
I could work with the Mauve still.
No, that's fair.
But then you're burning like
I don't
a
really
double
play enough
Gauge on
Vincent.
that. Unless you're saying you go like Mauve, 6 it, a guy, then swarming.
Yeah. That could work.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know how good that actually is.
No, you're probably right that Mauve
but
is just better.
like Mauve is what made it really cringe from Droma. Mauve plus Rosetta was really cringe. You're just always taking free damage.
Yeah, but it's pretty crazy in Vincent too, because your Mauve just becomes 3 resources, right? You just have an amplified Arknight from Banish every turn.
Agree. I think
Yeah.
that's probably the path to
No, that's way better.
make the
I
matchup
respect my head
playable.
jab statement. Yeah.
Fair enough.
No, it's definitely just Mauve Skies. And like hope you get your calls early so you can fill your graveyard. Or Banish, rather.
Mm-hmm.
But then are you playing like 9 Mauves? You might have to just fix that matchup, but then you have to bring them in other matchups. Is that good enough?
And they also just like don't work really. I mean, they kind of work if you draw multiple on a turn, but that means you need multiple attacks in your banish as well. Like
Yeah, I would only look to play like 2 or 3.
Do.
I would just play the red.
I think you just probably want to shorten the game.
Yep. I think it's exactly the same as Mario, just instead of head jab Mauve Sky, where you do your normal game plan, you try and end the game as soon as possible, and Mauve lets you deal with an ally and still keep up that pressure. Because some allies you just have to deal with, right?
Yeah, also, it could be interesting if they're running Reaping Blade in the matchup as maybe like a way of dealing with the guys that have 3 health. But I don't know. I just think in general, like you mentioned about the Dromai comparison, I think you can probably tailor your Vincent deck to be pretty decent into Gravy as well as being good into like what people think is a counter to Gravy of the red line aggro decks.
I'm just not convinced that that's actually a winning strategy because again, you don't have the Rosetta Thorn. You're not playing into a deck that's just like actually 60 reds, so you're not getting true damage every round, and you're not stuffing their round with 1 card every turn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely not. But to be fair, Viserai was like heavily favored. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Vincent's just trying to be like playable.
Yeah,
we're not trying to achieve the same goal here.
Yeah,
sure.
I think Reaping Blade's a big deal.
I don't know if this is getting into our topic later, but I don't know if I'm happy playing a deck that's just playable into Gravy if it's going to be as big of a meta share as it seems.
I think you're looking for the level 2. Like you're looking for the I beat the deck that beats Gravy, but I'm not completely inting the game when I play into Gravy. That's what I think they're coming at it with.
Yeah, because we started by saying it kind of targets the ninjas who are good into Gravy in theory. No, I think the play pattern of Reaping Blade is a good call out because that lets you, if they just do like 1 ally swing and you can kill it with Reaping, you can block 2 cards, banish, so you have your double stack, and then pitch your remaining card just to clear and send a rune chant. And now you're set up for your Mauve play.
And with Verdance being like an actual player in the metagame now, that's like a pretty reasonable card to have on your side for another matchup too.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if that's good in that matchup, but I can't imagine you're swinging your weapon that often in Vincent. It's like...
Yeah, there was another... there's another interesting match. I don't know if any of y'all got a chance to like hear about this, but it was round 3. Max Klein, the guy who got second place with Hachidori, playing against Bartosz, just guy who gets second place at every tournament. And then
He played
I
the other
was so
second place
sure
guy.
he
There can
didn't
only be
know what
one.
his. I was so sure Bartos, wow, didn't know what Verdance does because he was playing with the marble while I was watching. But then he
That's
won, so I was like, "Oh, I'm just wrong. Never mind."
you know, he just like has an attitude of just like things aren't going that well. Like I don't really know if I can if I can survive this. But then he
Yeah.
just like wins the game. And yeah,
Yeah.
spoiler alert, I guess. Sorry, but like this game should have just not been a one game. I'm pretty sure Max Klein gained like over 20 health off of Chowders.
Yeah, he just
And
like kept not Verdance pinging to clear Chowders and going
yeah,
face. I was like, "What is happening?"
but then it just like worked.
Yeah.
It was insane. I don't know. It made me like really reevaluate like how FAB math works. Where I was thinking back, like, okay, objectively, how did the Verdance win here? I think it's just so many turns where Max was blocking 5 with like a 3 block and a 2 block, for example, like leaking the value there. Where it seems like he's making up value because of Chowder life gain, but if you're just like blocking 4 to 5 every turn, you're leaking. You're losing value elsewhere when the opponent's
Mhm.
throwing cadaveruses and fellings and stuff.
I do think Max was like a little too in between game plans. Like if he just
Mhm.
blocked everything and just kept tapping his heal guys, like surely Bartos can't kill him, right? I don't know
That's
if you
what I
can
would
teach that
think. I
way,
don't
but
know.
I don't know. The game was super interesting. To your point, I would definitely watch it. I was
Yeah,
confused and entertained the whole time.
yeah.
And
It was like the
I
whole
don't
time.
know
Like,
who's
all right,
right, what's
I
better.
I mean,
respect
I'm
these.
planning on watching all the Gravy and all the Verdance games,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm going to be watching this. So
I respect them both as competitors. So I was like,
Oh,
okay.
great.
I assume they like know something I don't, but then it seemed like both of them were just like the bus was going like this way and that way. Like no one had any idea what was happening.
Yeah, it was a cool game.
I'm looking forward to making fun of Bartosz for it later. Then
No, but he won, man.
No,
He's
he did it, man. Dude, he
I
starts
can
going
still make
face
fun of him.
when
yeah.
You can't take this from
Gravy's
me. I
at
can
like
still just make fun
30.
of him.
Fair.
Gravy's at like 30 with 2. Who's the guy who heals? I want to say it right.
Chowder.
Yeah, well, it's like 2 Chowders on board, and Bartos like, I go face every turn.
The
Like,
only
there's
reason I
no way
remember
this
it is
works,
because he's
and
a
then it
cook,
works.
and food and magic gains you life.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Chowder. He's my favorite. I just like the artwork, dude. He's eating good.
Yeah.
Good show.
Yeah, good call out, Noah. Great game.
Okay. Anything else we want to talk about with this? Anything that you want to mention from maybe the representation of decks or anything like that? I think I'm good.
Can you do the meta spread? Do you have that handy?
Yeah, I also have it in our group chat if you want to reference it there. So Azalea for the day one top decks, it was Azalea at 37, Florian 37, New 29, Gravy 29, Syndra 27, Prism 27, Verdance 28, Rachni, there's Mario at 18, and then it drops off pretty much after that. And then converting into day two, we got New at 13, 45% conversion, Syndra 8, 30%. Verdant 729, Gravy 622. That I'm pretty surprised by the Gravy conversion. I was expecting that to be a bigger conversion. Florian 6, Prism 6, Azalea 5, and drops off from there.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway after seeing the initial numbers was that we put Florian in don't play, and definitely some people agreed with us, given that he was not by far and away the most represented, but not enough people agreed with us because he had a 43% win rate or something stupid.
Yeah, 17% conversion is really bad for best deck in format.
Yeah, it's atrocious.
Yeah,
I think those types of things make a lot of sense in Flesh and Blood, both in accessibility of cards in this game, of how expensive stuff is, and how much time it actually takes to put into a deck to learn a deck to be proficient with it. It's hard to short notice pivot decks unless you already know how to play multiple decks.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're like, all I know how to play right now is Florian, and I saw in Runaways they think the deck is shit now, and I got 4 days until this event since I watched the pod, I'm not switching decks. I don't have time. Unless I already know how to play something else.
Yeah, and I think that's why we see Florian still like the most played, but he's like way down compared to other events where he's like double the next highest played deck. I think over time we'll see him go down as we kind of predicted, and Verdance probably goes up.
I'm a little surprised how well New converted.
Yeah, that says to me it's probably a weak field. Not to offend anyone. That's just if I see new specifically with that type of win rate, it's just I don't know. It's like national championships too. It's more like I guess it is literally a calling, so that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Just hard to play against. You making a mistake, you lose.
yeah, yeah. The new player Tommaso. Funny story. You mentioned about people being like specialists playing their deck forever. We actually played one time at the weekend of Amsterdam. I mentioned the weekend of Amsterdam because it was certainly not the main event. It was also not the calling. It was the Null Rune Boots promo side event. I was like, all right, I'm just like taking this relaxing like Sunday afternoon. Let me get my Null Rune Boots. And I sit down, I'm playing Zen, and he just beats me in like 4 minutes. It was like absurd with new. Just like every single hand was like 20 damage. Take your whole hand, send you to go buy me a coffee. I was like, dude, I just wanted my Null Rune Boots. Like, brother, chill.
It's the best when that happens at like the PTs. I've had similar
And I
experiences.
had never heard of him before.
Yep.
I
And
was
it's
like,
round
wow,
one, so you still have to wait for them to bring you the
yeah,
Null Rune promo.
exactly. I just like sat there awkwardly after having lost. Just like, all right, give me my like Null Rune Boots. But yeah, that guy is like super sick at new, so it's cool to see that he was able to send her off because yeah, I mean that was basically like one of the breakout events for like new as the counter to Zen, and then to still play her all the way through now is pretty cool.
Good
Nice.
segue. News gone.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that. Impact on the game. Are you guys excited to see her gone?
Dude, I could not
How
be
you feel,
happier.
Dan?
I'm so happy. No, like so new does have very interesting parts of playing as and against, for sure. But then there's parts we were talking before the show where you just like don't have any choices, meaningful choices to make. Like if they have a Siren's Call and you have a blue you can't block with, you're just screwed. Like there's nothing you can do.
Yep.
You cannot block, you're screwed. You can block and now you're just over blocking for no reason.
Yeah, I think Assassin has an interesting sub game. Like I think the design philosophy of the class lends itself to some interesting games where we're both playing an information game of I'm trying to on the assassin POV, I'm trying to disguise what I actually have and trick you. And
Yep.
from the defending player's POV, they're trying to suss out what they have based on the game actions that they've already taken, what they blocked with, what they pitched with, how long they've been sitting on their arsenal, what they did last round, and if that arsenal moved. All these little bits of
Their body
information,
language.
trying to get as much info as possible to make an informed block. And I think that right there is some peak FAB. That like mini game between the two of you. And then you play against New, and she just says no blocks, play a blue stealth card, hold 4 cards. There is no right answer. Every answer is wrong. You're going to lose everything and take damage. Because if you overblock it, she's just going to go around you, give it go again with her boots, and then throw something else at you, and you're just going to take a shitload of damage.
Yeah.
If
And then it
you
happens every
underblock-
turn until she draws 3D reacts.
Yeah, it's just pretty cringe. It's just too many different forms of disruption to play around, and a lot of it just sitting on the table with the mask and the hero power, and Siren's Call, as you mentioned. Like, there's too many different punishes that all just destroy you if you guess wrong. Like you were talking about Arachne last week, where there's this like you have 2 different choices as a defending player. Both are wrong, but one's going to suck more. But if you guess wrong against Arachne, a lot of the times it's just going to amount to more damage. Like,
Or you
you're
lose
gonna
like
hold
one card.
Yeah, like
There's no
you're
like
not
surgical extraction, activate mask, go again,
you're not like
prognosis. It's like
you're not losing like 10 damage and your whole hand.
Yeah.
Like Arachne, you're like, oh,
once during
I guess
the game
I lose
you
the
do.
turn cycle. Sure,
But it's
you
face
lose
up.
the turn cycle. Yeah, I like that a lot more, and but you can have more agency there to make the correct decisions still on the defending player side. And as I think you were talking about that last week too, Noah, of like just have cards that say defense and reaction at the bottom.
Yeah,
It's a big deal.
those actually work when it's not mask and Siren's Call, right? Like when you're blocking damage with your defensive value, then it's actually like more interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm. What's your take on the whole new situation, Noah?
So I think it's like a nerf to me personally, which is kind of sad because I feel like I was pretty good at like sussing out what they had. In addition to, I spend so much time with every deck that I make crafting the blue base such that it was like optimal to when I drew a bunch of blues into new, my turn wasn't like anemic. But also if new got my blues, I didn't just like lose the game immediately. Uh, so I think like I don't know. I personally enjoyed that like deck building puzzle of finding a balance of strong blues that also aren't strong for new. But I think objectively, the fact that new could just like win some percentage of games with the amount of ways they had to just turbo banish off the top. It's like Arachne Huntsman, the meme, you know, like he was supposed to be the guy who just like would tuck your top cards or randomly banish off the top, but new would just do that so much worse. It's just like, oh, okay, like I lost the game on turn 4 or 5, whatever, because I had like 2 good cards left in my deck. They just like banished them from my hand with Mask because I drew all my good cards on the turn I needed to block, or they just like hit them off the top. So yeah, I think for basically 3 reasons, I like new being gone. The first being that like cringe RFG off the top thing. The second being like a lot of the assassin card pool just like warped my brain. Where like when my opponent throws a prognosis or Art of Desire, the one Art of Desire Body or Mind, one of those kind of cards where it's like this card is like pseudo unblockable if I'm a deck that like cares about blocking with my actions to heal them life because I have the corresponding thing. So I think like it's kind of an overall nerf to the assassin card pool where
Mm-hmm.
the cards actually do what the card says instead of like some random bonus text that the hero gives.
Yeah, like as
Um,
Mario, people still like go to block my prognosis and be like, oh no, I don't want you to gain life.
yeah,
And then they
exactly.
realize that they blocked
It
I
it.
literally like
definitely
It's like
hardwires.
I
everyone
do
still has
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to break the populations like the mind control that new has on them. And then the next one is the whole concept of like the mystic stuff, like the mystic equipment. I think is just like way too OP. Like the fact that Beckoning Mistblade kind of fixes the problem of like you have this like clunky assassin hand, right? You just took away their whole hand. Now you drop a random 4 or 5 card hand. How do you convert it? Maybe it's like a bunch of mopey blues or something. Because you play a lot of reacts that cost money and attacks that cost money. Now you can
It's
just like
supposed to be the
always
downside of the class.
exactly, yeah. And then the other downside being like the armor suite of like they literally printed legendary shoes, Black Tech Whisperers, that you have to hit to get the go again. And then now they print these other shoes that are just like not only do you not have to hit, but also you can use it on any attack and it counts as 2 reactions. And you can like even store it for later if you want. It's like yeah. So I think a lot of the like Mystic card pool exiting is nice. In addition to the other things I mentioned.
I will say the nerf to you comment. I kind of feel that because we
Yeah.
both kind of gravitate also to decks that just inherently are favorable into assassin.
Mhm.
So I'm never sitting down being like, "Oh, I'm sad that there's a lot of assassins in the room." I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Oh, I'm playing Prism. Like, who
yeah, yeah.
cares? I hope I get these news."
Mhm.
Yep.
And like Florian was a good matchup against New, right?
Exactly. Yeah. The only times you lose is when they just like 20% of the time banish all your good cards and then you lose.
Hmm.
I think New was like a really interesting tournament check. Like I rarely lose to New, despite complaining about it a lot. Like usually I win my games, I'm just annoyed the whole time. But when I'm tired, towards the end of the day, I lose to New every time.
Yeah, fair.
And I think that's probably a common theme.
Oh, for sure. It's another buff too for locals, right? I don't think anybody had fun at locals like showing up their first time and just oh I have this cool deck, but I can't actually play my deck because there's new.
Hmm.
I think that there should be some element of control obviously existing in Fab, but like the new style of control of not just like giving you a frostbite, but like I'm taking your whole hand. I think it
I
is
had
cringe.
not considered that. The next thing we were going to be talking about, I don't know if we're ready to do that, was going to be like the impact of New leaving on the game, like what's the winners and losers type of thing.
Mhm.
And that's something that I hadn't really considered in my like the notes I wrote to the side about that, where I was like, oh yeah, there's some obvious decks that get better and worse. But now we don't really have that same player in the game. That like I'm making you play an honest game type of
Mhm.
deck. Like Icelander kept you honest. You could not play a absurdly greedy decks with Icelander around. And New kind of did a similar function in the game. So now that that's gone, I wonder if we're going to see the rise of some degenerate stuff. Maybe not, because they got rid of a lot of the offensive overlap cards. But I could definitely see that happen off of this. I don't know what that would be
Oh, you
like.
mean like Zen? Like a deck like Zen,
Yeah,
it wouldn't be coming. Like I guess Dio would be
Yeah, decks that just
the one
ignorantly
that's
play 5 card hands, 6 card
potentially can do
hands,
that.
even, right?
yeah. If a deck in the game doesn't exist that stops me from doing what I'm doing, then I'm just going to do
I
my
think
thing.
the other assassins do this job fine. Like Slippy especially already does it. If Mario needs to, you can just play more like Black Widows and like Active Disruption.
Yeah, I don't see that happen, because I'm like looking at the heroes. I'm like, I can't really think of anything that would be other than like Dash, IO, and Acilio maybe. But even then, like, new isn't such a big portion of a meta that if those decks were capable of doing that, that they wouldn't already just be like the best decks in the game, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Acero is
But
a pretty good call out though. That's a good example. Like that deck might actually just become a problem.
I've been saying it,
I've
dude.
been,
Yeah.
For the past
I've
couple
also
of
been
weeks,
saying
dude.
that
Once
was one of the
Azalea
decks.
goes too, the floodgates are open.
Yeah. Oh, true. Azalea is the current new
Yeah,
Well, hopefully when Kano's gone, we get
for
rid of
that
the
check.
floodgates, right?
nice. Yeah,
Um, I've been talking about Acilio a little bit too, just like in conversations with people locally. That was one of the other decks I wanted to explore, because obviously it does some broken stuff, but I think that there needs to be some more exploring done with like a cosplay Aurora version of the deck. Like, what's the best Aurora deck when Aurora's gone? Just a worse Aurora. Like, just literally play the same deck, but instead of you have an Arc Flicker combo, you just have a Wizard combo at the end, and like maybe play an Armor Fridge instead with like the Arcanite stuff. Just kind of leverage some of the things that made Aurora powerful, but you're doing it worse than Aurora. But it doesn't matter because Aurora's not legal. I don't know
I
if
don't
that's good
know.
enough,
I
but
didn't think Aurora was that powerful at full power, so I'm the wrong audience.
I'm also the wrong audience. Didn't sub it once, but it's okay.
That deck's pretty good though. I've seen it in action.
Yeah. I think this topic was more just about like the new boogeyman of control being like very up in the air.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Azalea
so
will continue to keep aggro in check.
got a little off the rails there, but yeah, like
Doesn't do.
what do you guys got any call outs for getting better or worse now that New's gone?
Well, we can play whatever blues we want. So everyone's a winner because that's more fun.
So next Runaways tier list, Bravo's S tier.
Yeah, I don't think the meta changes at all. Maybe. I think once Azalea goes, that's the big one though, right? Because that does like unlock Ocilio.
I mean, I think Jarl just like gets
Yeah.
stronger in general. It was always like a bit awkward before, where you had to weigh the downside of playing like even just the Autumn's Touch, the Fruits of the Forest blue, like these kind of big Earth cards. But if Jarl now has access to more Earth cards to be able to consistently play the majestic Earth disruptive cards, like Jarl has a lot of disruption. They have the only saving grace against Giga combo being Stalagmite. They could
And
potentially
Blizzard.
play. What's up?
And Blizzard.
And Blizzard, yes, exactly, yeah. The
I
card.
think
after
Rouse
this.
is the biggest deal, right?
Yeah, Rouse, exactly. So you have like different. You should have like much more diverse ways to play the game.
You
So I
could
think
actually
that's
just
good.
put back
Yeah.
together the old him decks from like near the end of his lifespan.
Mm-hmm. I think Y'all is just going to be a fundamentally different hero because the way he's attacking certain matchups is not fatigue, attrition. I'm going to not take any damage. It's more just like I'm going to compass your key piece and then play an ice card every single turn such that your turns are like anemic that way. Not just you're only going to leak 1 to 2 damage every turn. It's like I'm making it such that you're never playing 4 to 5 card hands, kind of like we talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I believe in any Guardian until Mastery set, but I do agree with you that it gets quite a bit better. Like you can start following up your disruption hands, like your Oaken Old turns, and actually use your cards. That's a big improvement.
Mm-hmm.
If we do see an uptick, that does probably mean that Syndra takes a bit of an L there.
Yeah, it's probably true.
There's like a weird, interesting like triangle meta that could be forming there, where Gravy is obviously going to be one of the best decks in the game, and if people are looking to beat that, they're probably going to try playing Syndra. Well, then you can play Jarl and try to catch both of them. You can blow up their compass, and you can have positive things into Ninja with like your disruption and your blocking ability.
Do you think
But then if
Jarl?
Syndra gets pushed down, then that's good for Gravy also.
So like I feel like with Oldham back in the day, maybe I'm going boomer mode, but a lot of people just enjoyed playing Oldham, at least from what they talk about nowadays. They like reminisce as like a fond time of when they could just play Oldham in times were simpler. You know, the birds sang outside. But I don't know that people have any of this kind of nostalgia for Jarl. Like there's people who've joined the game post Oldham getting banned, and just in general, I don't know if people have that like same outlook towards an Ice Earth Guardian. But I don't know if like he can actually be a highly adopted hero. We've never seen him have like high adoption rate in literally any tournament.
I think that if he's able to enact a consistent game plan, you'll probably get a lot of people trying to play it, because that's what drew a lot of people to Oldhim originally, as far as I can tell. They were like, "This is just consistent. I'm just able to do the same thing every game, and I just skill check my opponent, kind of like New does, where you got to be this tall to get on the ride. Can you get over what I'm doing? Because it's not like anything I'm doing is that impressive, but you do have to kind of get knowledge checked here of can you beat this."
Mm-hmm.
Jarl doesn't have that aspect of the to you have to be this tall thing, but he's a bit more of a proactive deck. But then, can he be consistent? And then you'll probably get a lot of those people. I think that's what draws a
What
lot
do
of
you
people to
think?
Florian, because
Yeah,
Florian's pretty consistent.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, what do you think consistency means in context of a Jarl? Like, is consistency the ability to block for 10 and send a hammer, or is it like the ability to block for 6 and play a 2 card disruption, or play 4 card hand on offense? Like, what does consistency mean to you?
I imagine some modality of that, right? Like I can block when I need to, but if I am left with cards, I can have a good turn. Like you need to force me to block, otherwise I'm going to take all your lunch money.
This just sounds like
Yeah,
where Guardians have always existed and have never like quite been good enough. Like I don't know. I think CYB or sorry, I got ahead of myself there. I think I can't think of
The
his name. I think
PTSD,
Jarl
the
is much less
PTSD.
interesting without CYB. No, because like CYB was the consistency. It meant like you always got to this end game state where your opponent had like no threats and you had Oakenolds and Fellings that you were just going to play every single turn until they
Mhm.
died.
but do you think if we're in like a meta that's like more Syndra and Assassin and stuff, then like Assassin, like Mario style Assassin, that you could maybe get to that end game by just shoving infinite defensive cards in your deck? Because like all they're doing is just attacking you every turn, right? So if you're just blocking them, getting in a couple disruptions while you can, and then you just get to that end game state, like you mentioned.
And against Gravy, you're also trying to fatigue, right?
Presumably,
So
yeah.
so you'd have some sort of overlap there with how you side.
Well, I think most Jarl decks, people just say, "Here's my deck. What's a sideboard?"
Hmm.
I don't know about that one, but sure.
No, I mean, have you ever seen a Jarl sub like a clean 60? I swear they're always going crazy with the like 67, 68 kind of
Yeah,
thing.
my sideboard notes for the PKI one, it was like minimum 66 cards.
Yeah. Dude, Jarl players like the fat stack, man. They want like the man on the mountain, like looking down at their opponent, dude. The fat deck in their corner.
Triple sleeved.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. My take for the week is that New Leaving has almost no impact on the meta, especially compared to Gravy being the best deck and continuing to
Yeah.
rest. I think Gravy is going to fully warp, which gets interesting because that might rise up Syndra. And then the counters to Syndra are like Guardian, Victor, maybe Jarl, and like Prism.
I do have
If
two other
Prism
call
doesn't
outs.
rise, then like Kano's just the best deck by far because he just beats all of
Hmm.
these things. But if Prism goes up, then you can't play Kano.
I do have two other call outs. I think Verdance is a big winner from this.
Mm.
Verdance is already a really good deck. Lost one of its worst matchups. Um, and I think that looking at the meta from last week, Warrior had a bit of a weird spot in the meta where I think Warrior was starting to carve a bit of a niche, and it also lost one of its best matchups. Like Assassin was still pretty popular despite how good we thought all the assassins were. I perceive the Prism Warrior matchup to be very difficult from the Prism side. It's definitely winnable on the Prism side, but I'm never sitting down excited to face a Warrior. It's pretty difficult. And anyone that decides to show up with a Guardian, because all people always decide to show up with a Guardian, you're going to smush them. and it looked like it was pretty difficult playing that matchup as Gravy. I haven't played it personally, but the few games that I've seen so far looked hard to navigate. I'm gonna just clear your board every turn. I have a fridge of armor if I need it. It's hard to actually get me into Humperdinck range. And I have a lot of modality with the numbers, so the break points of killing your different allies isn't as big of an issue for me. But losing one of its better matchups does hurt Warrior a bit.
One of the things I noticed because I played against a Kasai the other day is like the hook secret effect, where like it actually steals the gold instead of like just making it gold. It's actually like very relevant into Kasai and into like Victor as well, presumably. So I think there's definitely some play there where the Gravy can put Kasai in awkward spots where like if I'm threatening to steal your gold every turn, making you block in ways that you don't want to be blocking. There's some play there, but I agree on the most part of the modality of Warriors being able to manipulate their numbers is pretty strong. You also just like drop some hands that can't really clear Chum Sawbones effectively though. So
that's probably like a game plan thing of like making sure your arsenal management is something that can help you clear that.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely like an interesting matchup though. One that we'll probably see more of.
Or not, because we lost New.
Nah, but people just like the Warrior matchup was good into New in theory, but New still had the same kind of thing into Florian where like if they just like take all your good cards, you could still lose.
Yeah, I kind of think it's a win for Warriors because a powerful deck has left, so now Warriors can
exactly
fill in a little bit.
Warriors can do like their mid-range soup and it be more viable.
Yeah, I think we were saying it last week, right? It's hatchet time. Finally.
Okay, anything else you guys want to talk about with New leaving?
I mean, Ethan will probably cope on Levia, but who's really
Yeah,
going to play Levia?
Brutes are kind of
never listening to him about that hero again.
Yeah.
every season, it's guys, you got to look at it. It's definitely S tier. No. Listen, give me something that makes that deck actually consistent, and I would play it.
This is your recipe. You have to. I feel like you got to have like a Pheno consistency document. Just like what does consistency mean for each hero? You have like 5 boxes to tick. Right now, Levia ticks like maybe one of them, and then if you just like have this matrix mapped out for each hero, then eventually someday there'll be a hero that like ticks all the boxes, and you just windmill slam them.
Step 1, I'm trying to cast my pitch cards.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue into
yeah.
Is this Gravy's world and we're just living in it?
Dude, it didn't feel close. Basically, any of the games I watched from the number 1 seed, because he was on stream like a bunch of times at the calling, he was just like calling his opponents fools. Like he's just like, I'll do this, then I'll break a gold, I'll draw. Oh, it's a blue. All right, let me play this. Just like getting ignorant amounts of value, just like throwing cards all willy-nilly about the board. Not saying he's playing bad. It's just like the deck just has infinite opportunities to make plays that are like, if I fail, my play is the same as your best play, and if I succeed, like the game's just over.
Yeah, you have so much like positive variance in the deck of I'm gonna make this like coin flip decision, and if it goes wrong, my play is still good, and if it goes right, I just sack the shit out of you.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I played a game at US Nationals. I won't mention any names. It was round 1. And he kept taking he kept taking the coin flips, and his turn would be 1 go again pass. Sometimes 1 go again play an ally.
Certainly a deck building problem then.
Maybe. It was a like disruption problem, which forced him into these like 2 card coin flips, which it's like a swell missing off the top, right? Like he gets to swing a swabby if he hits, but he misses, so it's just 1 go again pass.
Yeah, but you just like don't make that play. You're just like, oh, this is like maybe a blue plus, or it's just a blue, and just like make a different play because you don't know the.
Well, Noah said we can be ignorant with this deck and just play the cards, and then.
No, I'm saying you get the opportunity to. If you were losing, you can be ignorant and make a play that just like gets you back in the game for no reason.
Yeah, it's why the limited format's so good. You just like crack your 4 golds and hope you get like 2 sloops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I see that happen a lot too, where you start getting a lot of gold, and then they just give up fighting over your gold. They're like, whatever. You have enough to hero power for the rest of the game. I'm not going to fight over this anymore. And you're
Yeah,
like, okay, whatever. I'll just make this fat stack, and then when I reach
yeah,
the end of the game, and
Yeah.
every couple gold I have is just a extra card.
yeah.
Oh,
They're
I
just
want to talk.
completely wrong. Go ahead, Dan.
I want to talk about gold and the devs calling out Midas Touch as a counter to Gravy Bones. Because I played a little Gravy Bones, and I want to know if you guys agree. In my experience, this is one of the worst cards you could ever cast against Gravy Bones because I actively want to trade my ally every time for however much gold you're offering me.
Gold is the payoff.
If my opponent is doing a 2-card play of like they're pitching a card, playing Midas Touch, and then maybe spending like 2 more cards, killing another ally, that's like the best thing that could ever happen to me. Like
I
they
don't think
spent
it's an
4 cards.
anti-gravy card.
What's
I
up?
think it's an anti. I don't think it's an anti-gravy card. I think it's an anti-prism draw my card.
Oh, I agree.
Maybe
It's just
not
the
even
devs have
exactly.
like called this out as like, don't worry about Gravy. You should be doing this.
You should be helping them.
It's like
giving them
I don't know. Like
gold.
I'll have like Sawbones plus Chum, and it's like you have to deal with Chum, but are you going to give me 6 gold? Like no, you're going to clear my Sawbones so that you can clear my Chum, and then I get gold and your turn, and then I just play them again because now I have gold to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Chief of Midas Touch. I from listening to some other people talk about the deck, it might have been Jacob. I don't quite remember anymore. They were talking about that being like I get excited when I get Midas touched. I actively want this to happen.
Yeah, I think it does have spots where it's good. I don't want to like embellish or whatever. Like if you're both at like 10 health and they have a Chum and you just like kill your Chum 10 at your face, like that's really good. But every other spot of the game, I think it's just actively neg.
I think if you can trick them into activating the Chum, then play it, then that's probably pretty good.
Oh, that's kind of
So
sick.
just,
Yeah, like play like
a
what's a
pump or
scary pump?
something.
Like a Savor Bloodshed. And then they tap it and
It's
they
like a
like clear it.
relevant curve, I think, in Florian. Usually, like you activate Grasp, and then sometimes they chum because they think you're going to throw like a swarming, so they want to make you like neg.
Mhm.
But jokes on them, it was just a Midas Touch.
I was saying this earlier before we started recording that it feels like Gravy is a culmination of them not learning any of their lessons with previous things. We already have established that every single time we get a hero that is trying to cast their pitch cards, it's insanely good. Mystic, Icelander, Prism. If the best cards in my deck are
Which I
my
don't think it's a bad
blues,
thing. Just this point. Like I think this is almost a requirement to play the game at this point in its life.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't agree with that. I think
Sure.
that there should be a drawback to doing that. Like there should be either a risk reward or some sort of balancing with that of there's a drawback to me doing that.
That's just like not
'Cause
how it works though. Like every tier 1 deck ever has been blue based because they have really good blues, or they've been red line.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're saying we've created another monster.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
maybe we
I'm
shouldn't be
saying it's
doing that.
unavoidable. Like I don't
Yeah.
have an issue with point 1, but the combination.
It's just literally
Sorry to
not
cut you off.
unavoidable.
Keep going.
I don't know. I don't care.
There's no evidence that it can be done yet.
What are you talking? Like we have decks like Syndra who's just playing her cards and just not pitching. We've got Azalea who does want to include some pitch cards to play their blues, but they're not trying to actually play their blues usually. Verdance just does not want to play her blues, and I'll defend Verdance since Lucas isn't here. Verdance is a very good hero. Like that was my biggest problem with the deck. Your blues are just ass. If you had good blues in that deck, it'd be an insane deck, but it doesn't. So you have an actual drawback to playing that hero because you do want a high blue count to actually do what you're trying to do. Florian,
Verdance
you're
is a
not
good
actually
example.
Florian, you're not trying to play your blues. You put blues in your deck because you need to play the game, and then you include some blues in the deck that like are reasonable when you cast them. But you're not like, oh, sick, I drew quad blue. My hand is the nut this turn. Like
For sure. But these decks are only became the best decks because the good decks left, for the record.
You're arguing for a status quo of all the decks should be that. And I'm
not
saying
meaning to, but I guess
decks,
I am.
And
I think I'm just
saying
agreeing
most
with your
decks-
first point.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page that that's powerful. And
Yeah,
I'm saying that
if
those
your
are an
blues are good,
outlier.
you're the best deck in format.
Specifically, if you're actively trying to cast your blues.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a difference between your blues are good and when I draw the hand of all pitch cards, these are the cards I'm trying to play anyways. So there's no difference between me drawing a mix of pitch and play cards and just all pitch cards. This is just the best cards in my deck. And that's literally Gravy Bones. Like, I think it's pretty reasonable to play a Gravy Bone deck where the only reds in your deck are the conch. Because all of your pitch cards are the best cards in the deck usually. Whether or not that's like the correct thing to do game plan wise, because of just like matchup spread things, like maybe you want more reds to cover for weaknesses in certain matchups for like go agains and stuff. That's a separate point. The power level of the deck is high enough playing no reds. And that's kind of nuts. So it feels like they learned nothing there. And then they went, Dromai was pretty oppressive back in the day. What if we just took Dromai and removed Phantasm? And the
But then instead of just
playing,
like numbers
and
and like pretty good abilities, it's like win the game abilities on every ally, depending on the matchup. It
boils down to this, actually.
And also the sub-game of your Ash is gone on top of that. Because the sub-game of I have to get my allies in the grave is nowhere close to the same drawback of having to pitch reds. Like,
right, because people are playing Midas Touch.
Oh no, I have to loot every turn? Okay. I have to do the best thing in my deck every turn?
Sounds like
sorry,
fun.
Noah.
Yeah, I was going to say too, I think the devs just have a really big fixation in general with when they print cards that don't block, they think that's like the biggest downside ever. When like you actually only ever have to block in FAB when your opponent is presenting lethal. Like the perfect game of FAB, you never block a single card, right? Like cards are almost always going to be better on offense than defense. So like it's not actually a real downside of, oh, my cards don't block outside of I'm being presented with lethal damage and I can't block it.
No, the drawback does get realized.
But I just think in general as a balancing mechanic, it's a way worse balancing mechanic than other things. Like it's the same reason why they're like, oh, like let's print these busted ass fables. Like libraries, a liability.
Here we go.
Light of Souls.
Here we go.
Hey, that's what they've said before is like their main reasoning for why they can print such busted cards because it's a drawback, like it doesn't block. And now they just like made a whole archetype of like every creature is a fable. Like they're all just like way above the power level of what a card should be, but they have the drawback of it doesn't block. But I just think that's like the fakest drawback in terms of like a card design thing with how CC works when you have a 40 life buffer to be able to eat these hands where you're just like no blocks, no blocks, no blocks.
I also just don't feel like it's a real drawback because getting them into the graveyard doesn't feel that difficult.
I agree. Yeah.
So as I say, I think the drawback is very realized in draft. Like your opponent plays a late game ally, you're like, oh, I don't care. I'm just gonna kill you. Like you're gonna draw a no block eventually and die.
Yeah.
But in CC, it's like you got to get them below 20 before this is an option.
Yeah. I'm purely talking about the 40 life context where you just have these like insulation turns of like whatever. I have plenty of life to give to get my setup going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, the worst part is they printed one card, Arclight Sentinel, that also has Genesis ability, that also attacks for 4. Obviously, that's a bit of a stretch, but like that's kind of what the card is.
And the rate on it is insane too. Like even if we exclude any text on it, the just raw math of the card is insane. Like let's just take a really basic turn. You go play Call of the Grave, put this in the graveyard, activate chest, pitch.
That was my next call out.
To play, swing 4. They have to kill it at some point, gain 6. You just played a 2-card 10.
Yeah, you also have a tutor that lets you find this card that I just described. Like I'm pretty positive Call to the Grave gets banned before. Maybe not before Singapore, but definitely after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the amount of
I think that fixes a lot.
The deck is pretty insane.
Say again?
The amount of toolboxing is also pretty insane. Like, you've got probably the most card filtering the game has ever seen of like how many cards you're able to see around and toolboxing. And for the majority of the cards in your deck that are like situationally good, they can just sit in your bin. If you desire to do that. I think most of the time, especially with how people are playing the deck right now, that doesn't happen. Because oh my, don't even get me started. But there's counterplay.
Dude, it's 1 card 20. It's 1 card 20.
Yeah, bro, you kill the whaler. It's like 1 card 23, right? It's OP.
Jesus Christ.
But Passover. Oh wait.
Yeah,
Passover popped off in the final, by the way. Just like it was a great send out of like the new chooses to Arsenal it instead of Arsenal to leave no witness because it's just that good in this Syndra.
They got a dagger.
Yeah.
Nice.
That reminds me of the days of trying to fatigue Viserai with a Enigma. I'm just going to set this here. Eventually, they'll play Rattlebones.
Yeah. Oh, the good old days.
I always get one-time walk.
I'm gonna miss Chi. Chi were cool. But yeah, I think Call to the Grave pushes it too far. Like he's already got all this other stuff going. Now it's just like on demand, you get one of these allies that have these ridiculous text boxes depending on the matchup.
Especially like turn 0 too. Like, does he really need more turn 0 high roll of just like, all right, let's see who I'm playing against. Oh, I have Call to the Grave. I'm going first. Let me just like get my best answer that fixes my hand and attacks this matchup.
I was fishbowling the deck like after stream the other day, and I had a turn 0 where because of Call of the Grave and is it Give No Quarter, the flag?
Yeah, give no quarter.
I had a turn 0 Chum Hump with an Arsenal. I was like, how is this a reasonable play that I could make in Flesh and Blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, the variances are so extreme. Because, like, to your point, like...
The Arsenal was a conk.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, the game's just, like, over for, like, 90... Maybe every matchup? I don't know. Maybe not Verdance. They can just go face, apparently, and he die at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough world we're living in.
Yeah. Because the games don't always play out that way. Like, sometimes they don't play an ally the first turn or two, and then they draw all allies, and they just crumble. But their high roll is really disgusting.
And you have, like, a lot of opportunity to pretty freely fish for the high roll, which I was talking about earlier. Like, you have a lot of positive variance where you just, I'm just going to make plays, and if they play out normal, they play out normal. But I gave up nothing fishing for the high roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little early to make, like, hard claims, but I wouldn't be surprised if the community is, like, in shambles in a couple weeks over the oppression that is Gravy Bones.
Yeah, also, there's enough counterplay.
One more thing. Well, there is one point of counterplay. It's the most cringe of all counterplay of just like the game goes to time because like the Gravy is obviously going to win, for example, but you just have to. We saw this actually a little bit in one of the rounds in the calling where it was like very clear the Gravy had obviously won, but they just had to like keep taking the opponent's hand for a few turns while they wait to find like the go again source to be able to actually swing for more than lethal. But it's like the opponent's in the blocking cycle, Yuanji's favorite term, for a bunch of turns, and it's like it could conceivably go to time in a real tournament and be a draw where it's like I don't know. That's like one of my least favorite mechanics of FAB is like the time rule. So I think that's like potentially a natural enemy of Gravy now is you really can't spend a lot of time thinking through your plays like you maybe want to because if your opponent is like taking any time considering plays from their side, there's a real chance you go to time in these like long fatiguey matchups.
Yeah, I had that play out exactly at Nats. This was the game where I missed the ponder. I like the pivot point, what sucked. But because of that, I was a card behind the whole way. So I just got on this loop where I knew I lost, but then we played actual 10 turns. Yeah. And then I almost won if he didn't have, he obviously had DVX, but if he doesn't, I can steal it. And then I lost with 30 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, exactly. That like situation comes up a decent amount when I was playing Florian into it as well, where it's like, okay, like the Gravy really has to be thinking of each turn, can they afford to develop out stuff? Because if I kill it, then they have to reset. So then maybe they just chill for a turn, and then I have to think, okay, do I want to send my go again at face, or do I want to save it? Like there's real thinking points, which makes it kind of awkward with the time limitations we have.
I will say I actually like this. I've been mulling this over for the past week. I think Gravy might be the hardest deck in the game to mechanically pilot that they printed. It's like up there with perfect play, like perfect pitch stack chain in my mind. You have so many turn-to-turn decisions in the deck. I realize that a lot of the times you're going to make a lot of decisions and all of them are going to be correct because the deck's OP. But you could say the same for chain back in the day. Like, you could play the deck wrong and still get 90% of the way there. But to play chain at like the top level, like, I just remember the stories that Cody told me where he's like, I intentionally didn't shackle on a turn to offset my pitch stack because I know that I'm gonna draw an Art of War in the next hand and it's gonna change my pitch stack by 2 cards and things like that. These like really deep deck manipulation things in Chain. You have a lot of things similar to that in Gravy, and knowing, like, for example, when you're supposed to compass versus not because of is the top of my deck changing, so it does compassing even matter here. Like, mapping out all those heuristics for when you're supposed to do things, and there's got to be ridiculously deep game plans for Gravy because of the fact that you can sit with allies and stuff in Grave, and play for really specific turns where you can make games fairly deterministic because of the amount of planning you can do ahead of time. It's got to be one of the highest skill cap decks they've ever made, and I personally really enjoy that. That's one of the things that's gravitating me towards the deck a bit because I want that skill expression with the deck. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I don't have a strong dispute at the moment. It's kind of like Dio, right? Like, I think Dio comes to mind as being harder, just from my experience so far. But it's the same concept. Like, you're just working with an extra card every turn.
Well, Dio is fundamentally different because Dio, you have like ticking time bomb effects. Gravy,
Yeah.
you're under no pressure. Like Dio, you put out the Cerebellum, like you have to do something because it's ticking down, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like
the
Dio
bomb
complexity is higher, but the agency in Gravy is higher, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, the reward is more controllable. So I can see where you're getting at.
Yeah.
I personally like that.
Oh yeah,
I like
no, it's
having,
great. No, I think Gravy's an awesome deck for the record. Like, it's a ton of fun to play and rewarding. Just a little concerned.
power
But if
level.
it's an issue, the meta will warp. Will be Ira, Syndra,
Dude, the Ira Armory deck will
Ardents.
save us. Isn't that coming out in a couple weeks? Like before
Yeah.
Singapore?
What would save
Probably
us?
also Prism.
Some like ally interaction.
Probably also Prism will come in and help a little bit.
Yeah.
I imagine that's a good matchup.
Prism still feels like a Jarl thing to me. I don't know. There's just like these decks in my mind that can't really be widely adopted by the player base. Like they just like have like a cap that's lower than a normal deck in terms of they won't be the most represented deck at a tournament. Can you really see a tournament where like the most represented deck is Prism?
I'm not sure about the most represented, but it's literally been the third at a Pro Tour before.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like tied for third at what was it? Not Amsterdam. The other European one from like a year ago. It was like PT 4 or 5. I forget.
Lil?
No.
That's the wrong Prism. Barcelona?
That was Worlds,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe it was Amsterdam
It's probably Amsterdam.
because Barcelona was Worlds.
No, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was
Prism was
it was-
the third most played in Zen meta?
Is that true?
it was tied with Enigma.
Maybe. Yeah, I think that might be right.
Yeah, but that's because the top two decks were the only two playable decks.
And it was a deck that beat both of those decks.
Agreed, but I'm saying it was not the first place like most represented.
I never said anything about it being first place most represented. I'm just saying Prism might also come in and try to beat up on the Gravies.
Yeah,
you jumped to first place.
Yeah, my
I never
point was
said that.
completely different. I was just making an anecdote of the fact that like I don't know, I just Prism and Jarl are in like boxes to me. I'm just like they'll never be like number one most played. They can get to number 3. I agree with that.
Depends on the event.
Yeah, like,
I think that falls out for Pro Tours.
Yeah.
Like, Prism will always have a disproportionate representation to its power level. You have to remember that because people just want to play the deck. They see ook, cute illusionist girl, and they're just going to play it. Like, it is a hero that has a lot of simps. So it's always going to have a bit of a bump just from that. Mm-hmm. And then if it's at all reasonable for the event metagame-wise, people are going to flood to the deck. And there are a lot of really good players that have that as a pocket pick. Mm-hmm. Like Chris Eali, a good example of that, and most of their team, they're all ready to play that deck if it's ever a good meta pick. So I think if it is ever reasonable, it's going to be at least top 5 and probably higher if it's like very reasonable to bring for that event to beat the meta. But Prism inherently can't be the meta deck.
Yeah.
It's too exploitable. Though that might change with the armory deck, but that's a topic for another podcast.
Oh yeah, yeah. I want to get more spoilers on this, dude. We got like 3 armory decks coming up, right? And we don't know shit about
I
it.
don't need any other spoilers. That hat's broken.
Yeah, but I want to know more, man.
Wait, is the hat CC
gotta
playable?
Yeah, the
I don't
hat
see
just
why
like
wouldn't.
we don't have to get into it now, but it just like does the full
No,
combo.
but
by itself.
legally you can play the card in
Yeah, you
CC.
can play it.
I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. That would be a specific rule saying this is only CC or only LL legal.
What the heck? Aren't these decks only available at like one convention?
I think it's 2.
Okay.
Dude, the world saved. It's 2 conventions. We're lit.
I think it's also in gem packs or something.
Oh, sorry.
I see.
But yeah, the hat, like, I was like not so high on the hat before. I was like, this hat's whatever. Now that we got Secum, it's busted.
Mhm.
You just shoot yourself and go crazy.
Yeah, it sounds great, man. Let's make more cards that are potentially meta warping. You can only get as promos or going to a con. It's amazing, dude.
Yeah. Or
Huge
now,
fan
now
of
you can't
technology.
complain that prices of cards and packs are too high because they're not even in the pack.
Agree, dude. Yeah,
True. Oh, so smart.
genius.
Okay. Anything else you guys want to say on this topic before we move on to questions?
No, I think just the TLDR is like we're being maybe a little bit what's the word for this? Like
We're suspicious about the power level
suspicious.
being too
Yeah,
high.
I was thinking of a different word. I'll think of it later. Whatever. If I go,
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say we're dooming.
yeah, exactly.
No, it's like overzealous or something, right? Like we're
yeah,
reacting a little ahead of time. Like surely the player base will adapt and figure out how to counter the gravy bones.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned that, like I said before, they didn't seem like they learned lessons from previous things. Like it's got a lot of the we've already been here, done this before. Why we doing the same thing again of like same mistakes type of thing?
I mean, have you seen the gravy sales? Like the prices of his singles? That's why they did it again, no?
I mean, people would have bought that even if the card sucked.
But now it doesn't
We're just
suck.
like-
So now people are like super buying it. Not just like Illusionist fans are buying it and Necro fans. People who play Flesh and Blood have to buy it because it's the best deck by far.
You also got some amount of that happening of people just buying it to scalp because like the prices are inverted to the MSRP. Like boxes are literally more. At least last I checked, like like half a week ago, boxes are.
No, I'm talking
more
about like
than they
singles.
retail for. Sure.
Like all the cards in Gravy's deck are like 10x the cost of all the cards in Puffin's deck.
it's because
The EV's got to go somewhere.
Game, man. Puffin got that 20% win rate. Who wants those cards, dude? Put them in the scrap heap.
Yeah, but now like every card in your Gravy deck has like an EA treatment or like a cold foil in the gem pack. Like that's why he is the way he is. Their lesson was we make money if we do this, so they make money.
No, I could go for the scrap mechanic in this game.
The scrap mechanic in this game? Isn't that a mechanic
from Yu-Gi-Oh? From Yu-Gi-Oh?
But there's literally a scrap mechanic in this game.
Yeah, we have scrap. We have scrap at home.
But we have that scrap.
It's literally a keyword on cards from Bright Lights. You banish the thing from the graveyard to do an effect.
Sure. Oh yeah. But I could go for the mechanic of scrap from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Sure.
That'd be good. Okay. Scuff segue. Next,
just to clarify. Just to clarify my point, by money I mean like popularity. It does equate to money, but they know this is what the people want. That's why it's so pushed. Mm-hmm. Like if Gravy sucked, people would be up in arms at the same time.
Up in severed arms. All right, next we got podcast questions. These questions are asked by our premium members on Metafy. If you'd like to ask a question on the podcast or get a discount on FAB product from our sponsored Gilded Raven Games, or find people to practice with and much more, join the Metafy. The link is down below. So, first question, let me jump over to the Discord. I'm going to butcher all these names, guys. Sorry ahead of time.
It's terrible, so it's fine. The bar is so low, it's unreal.
Wow.
Kieran Vor.
Okay, somehow you did worse.
It's content. That's trust. It's content. How much do you typically prep for a tier 4 event like the Pro Tour? how many games do you try to get in CC, draft, etc.?
Oh, it's great we have Fino on to answer this question because he's
Yeah,
going
I'll
to give
go
you the
last.
answer that you don't want to hear.
Yeah, Noah, why don't you start?
Okay. My answer typically for a pro tour, so I'll start with the draft. Assuming this is an event where we've already drafted like in the format. I think most of the pro tours this has been true, right? It's not been like the first. Is this true or
Huh?
no?
What'd you say?
What true?
That for pro tours, it's not been like the first time the set's been drafted. Like we've drafted it at some other event before the pro tour, usually, whether it's like an RTN season, PQ season, US Nats in this case.
Yeah, typically pro tours we have a big window to prep.
Yeah,
Most of the time we have at least like a month, if not more.
yeah. We usually have at least
It's a
some
good
kind
assumption.
of season.
There's a pro quest season leading up.
Yeah, yeah. There's almost always like
Or
some
Nats.
kind of season beforehand where we get to
Mhm.
prep. So usually I'm trying to go to as many of those like IRL events as I possibly can to get the IRL prep in. And then I would say like drafts in the Discord, I'm usually doing between like 15 to 20. I would say is like my amount of prep. That's probably low for some of the competitive people, but that's like what I find of like the drafts I'm physically participating in. And then I'm like spending probably an equivalent amount of time as if I was to do 15 to 20 more of like reviewing other people's drafts and like uh discussing with them like their thoughts on the format, studying what other people picked by like reviewing the draft logs, that kind of thing. And then for CC, it depends a bit on whether I've locked in a hero or not. I've been getting better, I think, recently about locking in my hero, um, whether it's begrudgingly or not, but locking in a hero more than like 1 to 2 weeks out of the tournament. And I think I probably could improve my prep, but I try to just make sure that I have a very solid game plan into every meta deck that I expect to be in like the top 10 of popularity, for example. And I at least have an idea of what other decks are doing and how I can adapt my strategy on the fly if I happen to play into one of those. Um, so, however many games that is for you to get into each matchup to where you can feel like, okay, I have a kind of a repeatable game plan into what I expect an average build of a matchup to be. Um, that's about how many I do.
My like quick statistics would be in my prime. So this is like what's this called? Uprising time frame.
Going back to the boomer days.
It's more because of like life and work things, but in my prime, I would say I was putting in between like 200 and 500 hours per tier 4. Just depending on like how long the window was, like 40 hours a week minimum. Like literally all my free time was just Flesh and Blood that I could dedicate. Made a lot more sacrifices back then. And that probably equates to like at least 200 games on my CC deck and like 50 drafts. Since the bonds ban, that number has become like maybe 100 hours if I'm lucky. That's also because of like life changes, but I'm not able, like I'm probably prepping like 10% like I used to, which sucks. That's like all I'm capable of. So I wouldn't base it off of me. If you really want to perform, I do believe the more work you do, the better, but sometimes the devs rip away your deck the week before anyway. So it's up to you if you want to make that commitment. It's a heavy cost.
I I'm definitely not a do as I do type of person. Don't follow me on this. I have a inverse relationship with practice. All the events that I have practiced the most for, like what was it? Bright Lights Worlds. This is the one that Dromai was like one of the best decks. I think that was one of the events that I practiced the most for. I did terrible. The nationals where Dromai was first legal, I basically treated that like a full-time job also. I did terrible. The Pro Tour Lille, I literally didn't play the game for like 2 weeks leading up to that Pro Tour, got top 8. Amsterdam, I switched decks 3 days before the event and only learned one matchup and got top 32. I have a terrible relationship with practice. The least I practice, somehow the better I do, and I hate it. When I'm, but typically how I try to actually prep for the events is also a probably shouldn't do what I do. This is because I typically try to like main heroes. What I do is going into a season, I just update my matchup knowledge. Like, okay, what are the new heroes? I'm just going to focus on learning those matchups because I'm confident in my matchup knowledge from the previous metagame with everything. If something has changed, like a hero got a new card or something's fundamentally changed about one of the old heroes, I'm going to update that too. And I'm going to treat it like it's a new matchup that I have to update or something like that. But I typically try going into events where I've already got everything old already down. So I just need to maybe brush up a little bit on that and I'm good because I try making sure that I have like really deep matchup game plans for the decks that I play. But there's also I'm playing decks that typically are very game plan centric, like Dromai, Enigma, where it's I just need to figure out a repeatable game plan of like a specific turn that I just need to play towards, and that's what the game is about. And then I can just repeat this game plan over and over. So it's very tough on me when the meta rips me from my hero and I got to start from scratch. So every time I lose my hero, I typically don't do good for quite a while because I don't put enough time into of just like spamming games. Like I just can't sit down and treat it like a full-time job. I don't have the time for that.
Yeah, I don't know what the core of the question was, but one tricking is actually pretty good thing to do if you're limited on time. Just adjust to the meta, like Vino said, and then just focus on getting good at Flesh and Blood instead of like just the event. That's also a big thing. That way, some events maybe you have the 400 hours, the next one maybe you have like 20. But if you're just good at the game, you can like figure it out
And if
and
you
just
put
like
in the
play the deck you already
400,
knew. Yep.
and if you're maining and you put in the 400 on one event, so like for example, I no lifed learning Dromai going into that nationals, and I put in that hundreds of hours. But because of that, now I could coast for the next events
Mm-hmm.
because I put in all the work and I stayed with the deck afterwards. So I don't need to again put in 400 hours. I already did that, so it's just update my matchup knowledge, learn some new things with the deck potentially,
Yep.
try a couple new things.
And I think Noah said this first, like play your ProQuest. Like I use
Yep.
ProQuest to decide what decks can I play at the next major. Like
Mhm.
last ProQuest, I played Kano, Jarl, Florian. I think before that I played Mario, and then I went to Mario anyway. But I was prepped to play all these decks because of ProQuest specifically. Like prepping for a tournament and then playing a full day tournament is a surprising amount of practice.
Yeah, I did the same thing with my ProQuest this last season. I played Aurora. That wasn't very helpful for prep, but Aurora, Azalea, Verdance, Prism, and I think Syndra. I just like played like a different deck every week, basically, just to kind of get a vibe check on what I thought was a good pick and what I actually vibed with as a deck. Like, oh, I actually would play this. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add?
Nope.
All right. Next, we got Mishta A-R-K. I can't talk.
His name is Noah, so it's just Mr. Ark.
Mista Arc. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What macro strategies and or combo turns does Gravy have access to in order to combat Mask Momentum / Dawnblade / Herald farming unmanageable value?
So I think the
it
easy
depends on like which one of the things. Too,
yeah,
right? Like we have a different macro for each.
Let's just go in order. So I think for Mask Momentum, the easiest way is like if you just play a guy that has a lot of attack points, and then you swing the attack points. It's okay if they kill him on the backswing because you already got the value out of him on your first swing.
Also, with a small health point total, it can sometimes lend itself to be easier fighting over Mask if you're inclined to actually fight over it. Because if they have like a lot of health, you typically can't fight over the Mask. They'll send like an attack at you, and if you block it, they'll flick and then just attack the ally twice, get full value out of their 2 attacks, get their Mask trigger, and move on with life. And there's just nothing you could have done about it. But this assumes that you actually want to fight over the Mask. Like another strategy could be you're just not going to fight over the Mask unless it makes sense to you based on what your hand texture is, and just try to outvalue them every turn. Because I think Gravy actually does a really good job. Just my cards just inherently do more math than anyone else in the game. So even if you draw an extra card, your deck is just head jabs with a couple above rate cards. I'm just gonna play like a 2-card 10. and it's just better than anything you can do. Or maybe I'll play a Swell into a Swabby, and it's just better than anything you can do. And maybe that, or Prismatic, is it Leyline, the pump based on the colors of the
Yeah.
cards? Like, you can just theoretically lean into a different side of the deck and just outvalue your opponent every turn, and then push them down to the point they have to start blocking.
And when they're blocking, then they're not getting the mask on the allies, and then you should be winning. This is
And their
very,
deck blocks for shit.
yeah, very theoretical, but yeah, I think like just making sure that you're not doing plays like playing two allies and then just getting them both farmed by mask, like not actualizing the value of the damage, is the most important thing in the mask of momentum.
I think the best thing in Tamam is casting CNC, right?
For sure,
Like
yeah, and obviously
take their cards.
throwing your physical attacks is great too. Yeah,
Yeah, like the blue that makes them discard on hit is like much
the
better there.
loot effects, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those are really good for sure. Yeah, and also just like thinking about whether it's worth using hook on some effect as well, like a pseudo loot uh, thing, like pseudo loot the hold, because if they're giving you cards to deny gold, then maybe you get them in a spiral where they're not getting a mask, they're not clearing your board, and then you're progressing your game state.
Uh, Specifically for Dory, another strategy you could take. This is I mostly play big Dragon Dromai, so I couldn't just like pressure their life total straight up because I didn't have all the red line stuff. One of the strategies I took into Dory back in the day was I wouldn't give them profitable ways to farm their Dawnblade counter. I would play 0 to 1 dragon a turn, and I would just play physical attacks. I would just try to get chip damage on them, push their life, push about 15 points of chip damage, and set up a fat ash stack. And in the case of gravy, this would be set up your graveyard. Probably like have enough stuff in there that once I'm ready, it's there. I have my gold, I have my guys. We're in the waiting room, and then I'd wait till I got what I felt like was enough chip damage and the right hand, and then I would just say, "Now it's go time," and just deploy a crazy board in one turn. So in the case of gravy, you'd probably be like play 3 to 4 guys in one turn, just completely overwhelm them in one turn, and then just keep doing that for every turn for the rest of the game, and never let them hit you again. By the time their Dawnblade is big enough that it's relevant, you've done too much. They can never kill you because they're going to start having to block. Could be something you can do with Gravy. I don't know yet. I haven't put enough time into the deck yet.
Yeah, I also have no idea about Dawnblade outside of what you just said, but I think that strategy might be a little bit harder because the fact you don't have as much agency since you have these non blocks that like maybe you have to do something with them on that turn cycle.
I think that it could work depending on your build. Like, let's say you're playing more of the Yuki style of the deck, where you're playing more attacks. You could definitely do that, and then you're just like dumping your hand, discarding the guys to give go again, and just basically just playing all the reds. And then those decks just have more physical attacks, basically.
Yeah.
If most of your damage from the deck is coming from guys, then that's going to be pretty difficult. Because then you just like don't have anything that your hands literally don't do damage if you're not playing guys.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and then I think about yeah, nothing more about Dawnblade, but about Heralds. I'm pretty sure the best way to beat Heralds is just summon low health guys and use them as ways of soaking up lots of damage. Like if they want to farm their on hit, okay, cool. They're sending a 6 into a 1 health ally, right? They're sending like a War Tune at my 1 health guy that I already, similar to Mask Momentum, I already materialized the value on offense of this card. And then now I'm getting like way more life than I should out of it.
You do have to be careful with that if you're opening with Limpet, because then they could just Halo for Ravages, kill your Limpet, and just time walk you.
Okay.
If you're just gonna like open a turn by swing Limpet and like you have 5 cards because they didn't like let you block or something like that.
Yeah, I was more just meaning like the concept of focusing more on going wide with small health guys.
Yeah, I agree. It's just something to be aware of for the viewer. Like the Prism has some one turn of counterplay into that, so don't fall into that trap. Don't like take damage to deploy a bunch of 1 health guys and then just get time walked.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also like a general practice too in like various matchups where they could mess with your graveyard as well. Where like pirate matches where they could have sunken treasure type thing, where you want to be like thinking about, okay, maybe I don't keep my guys in grave and just like swing the one thing first, get it sunken treasure, lose my whole turn.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so definitely stuff to think about in the middle of your turn. But I don't know if you have any thoughts, Dan.
No, I have not played these matchups.
Okay.
I don't think we have either.
Yeah, we can continue. Well, I played it like literally like one. You could count on one hand, but obviously I have an idea because I have ideas.
Yeah. Oh, most of my concepts of this is coming from heuristics from Dromai, because I think how you're going to navigate a lot of this is going to be pretty similar to Dromai. All right, He Who Smites. Since LSS is definitely watching, what would be your guys' solution to the insane card price inflation we have been seeing over the past 3-ish sets? Which was one of the topics I said to Dan earlier. Like, we could talk about that as the podcast topic, but probably don't want to just have another negative podcast thing.
Yeah.
I mean, reprints for sure. I think putting more meaningful reprints into gem packs could actually be really helpful. I think the couple reprints they put into the armory decks have helped a little bit. So seeing some more of those like supplementary side reprints and like other weird spots could be good, because there's just too much lag time between them putting these reprints in real sets. Like, how long did it take for us to get a codex reprint? That's way too long. And it could just be also reprint sets, but I don't know about that. Then we enter the territory of just nuking people's collection values also, because I don't want people's cards to go to nothing that they already own. But you do need to have enough reprints where it stops the prices from continuing to going up. That was something that years ago was pretty common in Magic. Now they've gone down the Yu-Gi-Oh route of just keep reprinting everything until things aren't worth anything. But for a while, they would space out their reprints in such a way where a card would be rising in price, the reprint would come out, it'd taper the price a little bit, and then because of the quantity in the market, it would sate the market demand for quite a while, where it would stop it from continuing to go up. It wouldn't tank the price, but it would keep it flat for a long time. Also, just like stop ignorantly printing cards into sets that are obviously going to be stupid expensive.
Yeah, I'd say they're starting the issue you're describing at the top. Like, oh, here's Shelter. Like, obviously it's $100 on set release. Like, that kind of sucks.
Like,
we got the gem.
Yeah, it's and people can barely get product. Where some of these things are the bike spoke meme of like, how could this have happened to me? It's like, you what do you think was going to happen by not printing enough product to meet the demand? I know they have to plan this out really far in advance, but still, you printed these cards at stupid high rarities that you knew were going to be in high demand, and now the market can't fill the market demand for the sealed product. What do you think was going to happen? But I think the biggest thing that they could do in the short term would be like gem packs or something.
I feel like the issue is they made the game too good. Like, if everyone just played one hero, I think the market would be fine. But everyone's trying to play like 16 heroes and have like every majestic and legendary for these heroes.
Well, that's also tough because given the time period, you've got a lot of heroes rotating also.
Yeah, that's fair.
So people that might have been doing that are forced into buying into something else. So this might be a one-time thing that we're seeing if we never see a bunch of heroes rotate in mass again.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough spot currently.
I don't envy their position, that's for sure.
Yeah. Like, if you don't buy cards, or like didn't buy cards as they're released, and like your hero LLs, you're now looking at like a $1,000 to $2,000 transition to a new deck, right? Like, that's not okay.
I mean, I just had to do that.
Yeah.
But it was even worse for me because I did it 3 times instead of once because I'm fucking stupid. I was like, okay, these Earth heroes look pretty good. Let me buy literally. No one's given me a convincing argument whether I should play Florian or Verdance, so I'll just buy everything for both heroes. I mean, the difference for like getting the specific cards for the 2 classes isn't that big of a deal. And then I decided I'm not going to play either of these. Azalea looks pretty good. Let me get all the Azalea stuff, so now I got to get a set of codexes and all this other shit. oh wait, I don't think Azalea is the pick for this event. Let me go back to Prism. Well, now I need this gem for Prism. Oh, but this Gravy hero I think is better. So now I'm going to play Gravy. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Game
This is what I was trying to say. Like the game makes you want to play all these heroes and feel
Yeah.
like you have to.
well, this is the problem of I lost Enigma, so I need to find another
Yeah.
home, and I'm trying to find a home here. And
Oh, okay. We arrived at the answer then. LL needs to be a real format.
also, yes,
Because then if you
On
don't want to
the-
engage with like the standard format that's rotating now, you can just play the deck you have forever. Yay.
I mean, that was the original thing that drew me into FAB.
Yeah.
I can just pick up a hero and play it for a long time and master it. And well, I don't want to get into a tangent about Living Legend.
Yeah, we could save that for another time.
Yeah. I do think it's the answer to a lot of issues though. If somehow they make that format balanced and work.
Yeah,
and
it's very theoretical answer.
playable. Yeah.
or we have a better system for reintroducing heroes.
Sure.
Still waiting on Dromai.
Yeah, that's fair. Like if they happen immediately somehow.
Or sooner.
Yeah.
Like I think the Aurora turnover is pretty good, especially for how fast that happened with Aurora. Like I would not have expected that kind of turnover for how fast that rotated. But anyways. Time to butcher another name. Paratus Omnia. I think I got that right.
That's pretty good.
Which do you think will be the top 3 heroes now that New has LL'd? Gravy. Noah, what do you think?
Gravy, number 1. And that's all I got for you.
No. I
So
think
our
it's
tier
an
list
easy
is the
one.
same? Yeah, Dan?
Yeah, it's Gravy, Verdant's Prism.
Verdant's Prism. Okay, sure.
I agree with Gravy Verdance.
I mean,
Prism's definitely top 5.
I want to say Syndra, obviously, but she just like sucks.
Sorry, let me rephrase. It's Gravy, Verdance, Prism, or Kano, whichever is more popular.
You don't believe in the Syndra results?
No, dude.
The Syndra results of unplayable to amazing to next week unplayable again?
I mean, we said in the tier list, right? It's a pretty medium deck with some very good matchups. Yeah. Like, if you roll a bunch of gravies, deck's great.
I think right now, I would put Azalea as the 3rd.
Oh, Azalea doesn't exist. Sorry.
Yeah, Azalea is not
in my eyes. I'm not acknowledging that deck.
For the rest of national season, yeah, Azalea is in there, but
once that's gone, now we have a different conversation. Yeah.
I guess technically the question is just about new leaving. So yeah, for now it's going to be Gravy, Azalea, and Prism.
Verdance.
Nah,
bro, don't be a hater.
I'm back on my hater mode, man.
I do think Mario should be dominating, but his adoption's not that high, and without like very, very good play, you have too many bad matchups.
Because we're talking about while Azalea. I guess to be fair, people just build their Azalea deck so badly they don't put Codex of Inertia in. So I guess
Bro, how would you? Fine. How can you not play Pot of Greed?
Yeah, whenever I think about Verdance, I think about testing into like real Azalea. So Verdance is good into current format way people build decks. Yeah.
Spiff. I'm not sure. What pillars of successful competitive? What are the pillars of a successful competitive testing team? It is a struggle out here. Reading comprehension low. What do you think are some of the pillars?
I think the biggest thing is like making sure you're aligned in your goals and like your, I don't know if work ethic's the right word, but I think it's almost better to start small and just make sure you're aligned in like what you're trying to do. Like, are you trying to win events? Are you trying to like cash or just do the best you can? And make sure everyone who's involved is like-minded and like either doing whatever it takes to always win in terms of work, not cheating. Or like, just want to clarify that. Or are you just trying to vibe and like help each other grow and get better and do the best you can? Like, that's cool too. And you can also mix and match. Just make sure everyone's on the same page especially getting started, and keep your focus small. Like, don't try and do more than your group's capable of. Like, you don't have to play every deck in the format. You can just kind of let other people do that, look at tournament results, and be
It's
like,
kind of
okay,
similar to
this is the
like
meta. Let's build this deck that we think sets up well, and let's all work on it because there's only 3 of us, and that's the best use for our resources. Like, know what you have to work with.
I will say that kind of reminds me of like a similar thing with multiplayer games that I've played with groups.
Mm.
Um, it's not the same as like playing a competitive game, but if you're playing like with a group of people consistently and you have misaligned intentions, that usually leads to a lot of conflict within the group. Like you got that one guy
Oh
trying to
yeah, like
take it
someone who
super
wants to climb
seriously,
ladder versus the guy who's just like vibing, eating popcorn while he's playing or whatever.
and then you got the one person that has no clue what's going on, and
Yep.
that's how you lead to groups falling apart typically.
Mm-hmm.
Noah, what do you think?
Yeah, for if you want to be a successful and competitive as like these adjectives of the testing team, I think you shouldn't have a team where you have to make sure other people are motivated. It should be like everybody wants to win and they're using this team as a way to make it such that it's kind of like they're all like climbing on top of each other to both to all achieve success, right? Like everybody is leveraging the strengths of their teammates so that they individually can do well, because there's no, I mean, there are some team events, right? But at the end of the day, like you're forming a team such that ideally one of you has to win the tournament, and you want it to be someone on the team, but ideally yourself. So I think like all of you need to have the mindset in the testing process of like we're all leveraging each other to make it such that we can be the best players that uh we have the potential to be. And I think one of the biggest ways of doing this in like the testing process is making sure you're testing objectively. So like when you're trying to figure out something for a tournament, don't be like, okay, let's play a game and I'm going to see if I beat you. It's like, let's play such that I can understand the play patterns of why you're doing what you're doing from your side. Maybe I don't play that deck that often. You can understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, what my perception is of like your game plan, and then here's the game plan I'm trying to actualize, and then using the testing like session to then reflect back about, okay, here were some like turns and play patterns that seemed effective, as opposed to just like chalk up, oh, I lost this matchup 3 times in a row, I'm going to go switch decks. It's like the point of a team is to get valuable feedback out of every testing session that you do.
And jumping on that, like don't try to juice your teammates like in testing. There's just like
Mm-hmm.
no value to be gaining. Like if you see someone make a mistake, maybe talk about that, or like something's obvious and they should know something, like walk through why that's obvious and talk through the turns. Maybe even rewind the turn. Like the objective is not to increase your win rate against that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like the outcome of the game is completely irrelevant.
Yeah. Another thing too, I don't know if y'all saw the rehearsal. This does not seem like it's in Fino's demographic, but maybe Dan saw it.
I don't think I have.
Oh, okay. It's
Should I?
everybody should watch it. It's
Okay.
Nathan Fielder show on HBO. In the most recent season, he talks about like airline pilots lack of communication. And so I think there's like a parallel here where you may be in a testing environment where, like this person mentioned, just more follow up in their question, um, of like you're at a local where maybe you feel that someone that you're playing against is like better than you. Maybe they've been playing card games for longer, and you are like you want to try to leverage them as like a potential teammate person bouncing ideas off of. Maybe there's multiple people who fit this bill in your local area, but you're like nervous about being candid with them about like your goals, as well as when you're evaluating plays, like you're just nervous about making a mistake or asking the wrong question, seeming stupid, this kind of thing. I think all that should just be like thrown out the window if you're doing like if you want to be like a real testing team. You should have like no problem saying speaking your mind.
That kind of goes into what I was going to say. I think the communication is like the number one biggest thing.
Yeah.
of making sure you have the right kind of vibe for the group, where people feel like they can speak their mind, say what they need to say, not feel stupid for what they're going to be saying. But like, if they say something stupid, I think it's important to address like that's some clown activity of what you just said there, but don't don't belittle them for it necessarily. Um, and I had another point here. What was it? I just lost it. Unlucky. Now I feel stupid. Yeah, just like making sure that you have like the proper communication channels so where people can like properly say what they need to say.
Yep. Yeah. One of the follow-on questions here is how to keep information organized between events. So yeah, what we use is basically just in our Discord, we have like infinite threads. We have threads for event prep specifically, as well as events by hero. You can go with your idea, Fina, in case you lose it again.
I wrote it down. You can finish your thought.
Oh, okay. Dude, quick with the typing. All right. But yeah, so we basically have threads by hero. I think this is like pretty effective. You can basically just leverage the thread to talk about here's where we're at with the hero. So if you have like a larger team, or maybe you have someone who's like, that they're the Kasai specialist and all they do is Kasai. If someone else on the team wants to get up to speed, they can just like consult Kasai channel and see the backlog of the work that person has been doing and kind of understand a good like jumping off point. And yeah, just in general, keeping information organized. I think like having some sort of your team Discord is valuable, mandatory even.
Yeah, I think communication is very like team size dependent. Like if you're as big as us, you need some like tooling to like aggregate data so people can like consume quickly and not read through 30 people discussing. But if it's like 2 or 3 of you or 4, like your requirements are a bit lower there, you can more easily digest everything that's talked about. So just communicating is a very good thing to do.
Okay, my lost thought. I think not everyone's going to struggle with this, but uh, I think most groups will still have at least that one guy in the group. But everyone should have this mindset. Don't have an ego. I think going in with zero ego is incredibly important. Don't assume that you're correct all the time. Don't assume that if someone else has an idea that is just stupid. Like, just you know exactly where I'm getting at with that one.
You got to empty the cup.
Yeah, like I typically always try to have the mindset that people know more than I do about things. Like, for example, when I was watching on stream, is it Andrew Cook, the guy that topped with Prism?
Yeah.
He made a couple one play on stream that was similar to one that I watched in one of his games, where with how he utilizes his Shariah, and I alluded to this earlier, where I feel like I learned something during those games. He uses his Shariah in a very fundamentally different way than I use Shariah, and my gut instinct is that's a silly way to use it, but I go, well, he's clearly got results with the deck. He's winning games. So maybe there's something here that I don't see, that I'm not understanding, because I should not assume that I know better than this person. I need to remove my ego. Why is this working, what he did here, and try to delve deeper into it and assume he knows something that I don't. And I ended up trying to figure it out, and I think I learned something, and now I have a new way to use Shariah. So I gained something from that. But so you should go into these types of things not assuming you fucking know everything. If someone has an idea that you don't agree with, humor it, or try to like ask questions about it and try to understand where they're coming from with things.
I would go even farther on that point, Fino. Like even if you know more than this person, you can still learn from them. Like there's some gameplay videos I'll watch on YouTube for decks I'm playing, and I'm like, I disagree with all these plays. I'm going to turn this off. But then I don't, and I keep watching, and they do this one weird thing where I'm like, oh, I actually just missed that was an option. And I'm going to use that at some point. This situation is going to come up where this play that you made, even though I think most of your decisions I would not agree with, you gave me this tool that might like win me a championship. So just keep an open mind. Even if you think or know that your play might be better than someone else's, you can still learn from them.
And that can go with like ideas too. Like someone says they think a card is good in a deck. don't just shoot them down because it doesn't fit your idea for the deck. Like, let's say someone starts talking, like, we go way back. Let's talk about early Dromai, for example, and it's all big dragon, and someone starts having an idea of what if we put a tax in the deck? Idiot! Those aren't dragons. Get them out of the deck. What are you talking about? Well, obviously that was clearly a really good idea, putting a tax in the deck that say go again on the bottom of the card. Don't just shoot people down for an idea that doesn't align with your perception of something.
Yeah, but just to end, like, communication's a never-ending challenge, because there's the other side where if you're like 20 to 30 people, you literally can't listen to everyone on every point because you'll just never get anywhere because all your time is now gone.
Mm-hmm.
But that's more of like a tooling thing that you have to solve for.
I think one more thing too that's like a kind of a niche benefit, but whatever, it's going long enough as is
I was just trying to say the next name.
Oh, okay. Well, Swift has a 2-part question, so I'm giving multi-part answer. Another thing too that's like really cool about a team is like, try to, if you do want to do like the team thing, try to really like lean into the whole like team aspect of it. It's really fun at events if you're not doing so well, but you see other teammates are like doing well to go like be their cheerleaders and stuff. It's like a nice side benefit of being with a team, because it's like you all put in the work to prep, and it's okay if one of them ends up reaping the benefit because like the dice didn't go your way. So like that aspect of if you're like cautious about wanting to go into like the start a team kind of thing, there's that huge benefit, I think, of if you are all aligned on we want to go to like these tournaments, so this is why we're starting the team to prep, then like at the tournament you can gas each other up as you're doing well, and like you always have like someone to lean on who understands.
Yeah, like whenever someone's doing good and I'm not, I'm always trying to run around and try to help that person, for example.
Yeah. It gives you more purpose, and you get to ignore the fact that you suck.
Yeah, it's really rewarding, especially if you're like working on the deck that they're doing well with.
Yeah.
I have to add one more point.
Okay, go ahead.
Make sure, especially if you're a small group, that you're aligned on your food preferences. If you're like the only guy who likes sushi and the rest of the team doesn't, that's going to be devastating for you. But if it's the other way and only one of you, right? But like, if you're the one who doesn't like sushi and the rest do, you're just ruining the whole vibe of your team, because now they can't get the food that they want after the tournament because you're there. So just make sure you check that before you group up.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a find a different team angle. That's like,
that's what I'm saying. Don't form the team if you're not aligned on this.
Do you like sushi?
Yeah,
get them out.
Yeah. Nice.
Big Hungry asks, with the speed run of MST, do you think the next MST is close at hand, since it was the premier set to launch the game in Japan? Dan, what do you think?
My entirely baseless prediction is that they had to throw away the current MST set that they had planned as the follow-up and start from scratch because of what happened with the first one. So it's going to take a little bit. I think, and that's entirely baseless. I have no reason to believe this. Or like,
it'll definitely come out next year.
Evidence. Do you think so?
Like a little longer.
I don't think it'll come out next year at all.
I don't think they were ready for it to rotate that fast. I think if they were aware how fast things were going to rotate, they would have changed the LL point structure sooner. I feel like they got caught with their pants down on a couple of these LLs. So, and there's a big lag time on them, designing the set and physically printing the set.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what, 18 months for them to like actually do that, right? Something like that.
I don't know.
So, yeah, above my pay grade.
I think the next Mistveil release is the second time we go to Japan. So like, we're going to go to Japan sometime next year. And then the next time we go to Japan for a Pro Tour, Mistveil 2.
I feel like it got moved up in the queue of sets that they were probably trying to work on. I feel like it is a priority for them to get that back out, because it was such a well-loved set thematically. Like, people really... Everyone feels some sort of way about all the heroes in that set. I'll say that much. Like, I don't think there's anyone that's just like, Zen's a hero that exists in the game. Everyone has a polarizing opinion about all the heroes in that set. and the flavor of the set was really good.
There's
So
also a
they're
lot
going
of
to want to get
unplayable
that back
cards
out.
now.
Also that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, maybe I changed my mind because of that.
Yeah.
I think it'll
Like,
release
even-
early. What year is it?
Early
2027.
27.
Yeah.
But like, even
Maybe
if
they
they were
find a
like
way
this,
to do it next year.
but like, even if they're like, we're going to prioritize working on the set, there's only so fast they can do that, you know.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So I what are we in at 25? Yeah, I think
And
27 is pretty reasonable. Like,
Do you think
yeah, maybe we
they'll
just get like
ban
an armory
cards
deck
before
Misspell hero.
Armory deck misfail? Round,
Yeah.
round the misfail table.
Yeah, that'd be kind of sick, actually.
Yeah.
that's where all our reprints are.
Enter the misfail. Yeah. They'll reprint everything in ban traverse.
Yeah, that's my only prediction for the next BNR update.
Oh,
Traverse gone.
wait. My brother said that his podcast question was going to be, will they ban Traverse? But he didn't ask it.
Boom. No, he asked it in spirit. I understood. He sent it through the mist.
I don't think they will.
I think they will.
No, they can bounce around it. Dude, Nude didn't even play this head piece. It's not that good.
She did actually play it in a couple matchups. Not towards the end.
Yeah,
but-
not for like a year.
Anyways. And then Scabici. Is this who I think it is?
Yeah.
Okay. This is one of our locals. Think back to the tournaments that you've played your best at. How did you feel winning game after game? What was your mindset while competing at the highest level? When you experience luck in your games, how does it feel? Do you ever feel like the main character? Bonus, give me your best superstition or special routines you do to prepare for tournament play. Boy, do I have a lot
So
to
many
say here, but
questions.
you guys can go first.
I feel hungry when I'm winning. Hungry and like angry? Angry is not the right word, but like
I think
kind
you
of
probably
angry.
have some righteous anger, you know? You're just like you're fired up kind of thing.
Yeah, no, for me it was like early on I felt a little disrespected by like my lack of stream time. So that was like my driver. Like I'm just gonna keep winning, so I have to be on the stream. But then I got on the stream. So I had to find a new thing. No, I don't know. Like I was literally like when I was winning a lot and consistently, I was like super dialed. And I think I was channeling that through like the emotions I was describing. Like, I was finding a way to get like so focused that I was almost angry. And it was kind of just from a hunger. Like I had to win. Like I'm just gonna win. Is the
You're
mindset
hungry
going
for the
in.
W.
Yeah. And that was kind of driving me to stay present in my games and dialed. And now I'm kind of like, whatever. I'll do my best. Hence the lack of undefeated runs.
Okay, Fino, you go next.
Okay, so I've got like a couple things to say here. Typically, when I'm doing good, I'm not really focused on the results of the game or anything like that. Like, my mindset is not like, yeah, I hit the I won button and I'm like hyped that I won. I'm usually still thinking about the game that I just played and the interesting decisions. Like, my mindset while I'm playing the game is usually more focused on trying to play the best game that I can and making correct decisions. And that mindset persists after the game. I'm thinking about the decisions that I made. So I don't really give a shit whether I won or lost. I gave a shit. Do I feel like I played a good game? Now, there was one event though that was not the case. At the Realm 10K, I just sacked the shit out of every single opponent at that event. Noah can contest to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally at one point, I just looked at my hand and there was like a really ignorant play that I could make that I just lose the game on the spot if my opponent has a popper. And I stared at my hand for like 30 seconds and then just looked up at my opponent and I went, I'm lucky today. I'm winning this game and I'm top 8ing this event. I'm the main character, and I just made the ignorant. I literally just said that, and he's just like, "What the fuck?" And then he didn't have the popper, and I won the game. But then it was really funny. I had like an insane turn. It was like triple Kyloria with a tome. Like I drew like a million cards, and he didn't block anything. And a judge walked by at the end. My board was like one of the craziest drum my boards I've ever had. I asked the judge, "Can I take a picture of my board? It's never been this big before." And then he then also had a crazy. I think he went to like, he was playing FAB. I think he had like 12 chain links by the end of his turn or something. The same judge walked by at the end of his turn and he was like, "Can I also take a picture of my board?" It was such a funny game. As far as superstitions go, this is one that I don't think I've said on YouTube for a long time. I think, God, yeah, it's been a year since I said this one on YouTube. I have a superstition that I win the game if I take a dump. So back years ago when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, there was this really good player named Cesar Gonzalez. And I ran into him at a local event. And, I'm a kid. I'm literally like 14 at this point or something like that. This is like beyond boomer days. I go up to Caesar and I'm like, "Hey, Caesar, how can I be good at the game just like you?" And he looks me dead in the eye. "Take a shit every round." I'm like, what is this grown ass man saying this to me? Excuse me? Shit every round. So I walk away. I'm like, well, that was one of the interactions of all time. I completely forget about this. Years pass. I'm doing like buying and selling cards now, so I'm going to events again. And I run into him at a Pokemon event, just like a ProQuest type of thing. And I'm just vibing. I'm not actually in the event. I'm just hanging out. And I notice he's going to the restroom every single round. I just kind of take a mental note of that. I'm like, man, does this guy have like IBS or something? We fast forward again, and I'm doing Flesh and Blood stuff. And my very first event that I go to, every round that I won, I just happened to poop right before it. I'm like, huh, that's weird. And then that happens at the next ProQuest I went to also. And then I found out Caesar actually had a card shop now. And there was a RTN at his store. So I went to play. And that happened for the first 2 rounds. And then I get to round 3. I go take a poop. Leave the bathroom. Stop. Nope, gotta go back in. Take second poop. I walk up to Jimmy afterwards. I would not want to be my opponent this round. I took a double Caesar. I'm calling them Caesars at this point. And then I play against our buddy Frenchie. He doesn't really play FAB anymore. Rip Frenchie. Brother literally forgets how to play the game during the game.
You still lost though, right?
No, I fucking crushed him.
That's the Frenchie special.
He time walked himself twice.
Oh, usually he wins
literally
those.
forgot. No, he forgot what was going on. He just like was not mentally there.
Got it.
I attack him with 2 heralds. He looks at his hand. No block. Goes to his turn. Pass. I'm like, what is happening? What? I'm still new to the game. I'm like, surely there's something fishy going on here. What does he know that I don't? Like, why would he possibly not block and not attack? Play another 2 heralds. The 4 cards has not changed. It's still the same 4 cards in his hand. No block. Pass. I'm looking at my next hand trying to figure out what I'm doing, and then he just all of a sudden goes, "Fuck!" I'm like, what did you think was gonna happen? He just didn't do anything for 2 turns. Yeah. And then that has persisted since. So that's my superstition.
The double Caesar stun lock.
Yeah. I tried to Caesar before my game against Hamilton. Nothing happened. Couldn't plant the flag on the and I couldn't Caesar before my top 8 of Lil. So the superstition stands.
Wow. Yeah, you have way better story than me in this regard. I think usually my thing, bringing it back to Scabici question, is, I don't know, I feel more like a sense of I'm an imposter when I do get lucky. Like, I think some people maybe interpret it as like, oh, like, I I know this is definitely how Lucas thinks. He's like, oh yeah, of course I would get lucky. Like I'm the goat. I'm him. Like why would I not do this play? Because obviously this outcome will happen. Whereas I'm like, wow, I just like completely frauded my opponent. Like I don't deserve to win. I did this play. It was like a actual 50-50 as to whether I succeeded. I hit on the 50-50. Like how can this
Hit on
actually
swell
be?
into hit on scar. Yeah. Or hit on swell into hit on rabble.
Yeah. This happened in the tournament, right? I have
Yeah,
3 reds in my hand. I'm like, pitch a red to swell, hit the blue, draw off of gold, rabble, play rabble, hit the red. I'm just like, dude, who am I? Who is this guy? But then I think if you actually break down the luck of a situation, it's like, okay, I forget to think back on, well, I could have just had the blue in my hand instead of it being my top deck. And that's no one would be like, oh, you're so lucky you draw like 3 reds and a blue in your deck, like your draft deck with 8 blues, right? It's like, okay, it's just like a normal hand. So I think some aspect of luck is a thing I have to work on personally, of just like, yeah, like luck is part of the game. You still play the game regardless of whether you're sacking your opponent or not. But when I'm winning and it's not feeling like it's luck, like it's feeling like it's my like deck building advantage before the tournament or like my matchup knowledge, that's when I feel like on top of the world of like, oh, I'm winning because, like, for example, when I was playing I think it was like round 3 of Worlds, or like round 3 or 4 or something, of just like my opponent presents like a Channel Lightning Valley turn in Aurora, and I just like have these 3D reacts in my hand. That's also like a moment of luck, right? I only played like 9 or so. It's like not that likely to draw 3, but it felt like in the moment of like, oh, this is like my huge deck building edge, not I just got lucky and drew 3D reacts, right? It's like it felt more like positive and like it could carry me forward to winning more, as opposed to the other situations where it feels like it's just luck on a turn cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the takeaway is basically just everything is luck. It's a card game, and you should try to moderate yourself to where you don't need to feel bad if you are lucky, uh, and you should not also think that you're blessed with divine powers and you take plays that rely on yourself to get lucky.
Okay, but what about me? I usually just gloat when I'm lucky. How about that?
I haven't ascended to that level of play yet.
I don't know. For me, when I get like really lucky, I just lock in. Like when I think of luck,
Yeah.
I think of like my opponent just like did something. They just like forgot something where I was gonna lose this game. I should lose every time, but they like don't charge a light card to Lumina or something. Sorry, what's the card?
Maybe don't charge a yellow to one of the cards that like requires a yellow or something, right?
Oh, this is so bad. What's the one cost for Monarch where you charge your attacks get plus equal to the number of light cards you charge?
Be the Vanguard.
Yeah, they like don't charge a light card to V, so they don't go again. Like when something like that happens, where like I just get this miracle way to come back because my opponent made a mistake. That's when I like lock in. So I'm like, if I'm getting free wins, like I'm not throwing this away.
You view that as luck though?
Yeah,
You don't view that as like opponent throwing? Like that's not really luck, right? It's just like opponent
yeah,
throwing.
but this could have happened to anyone. But it was my opponent who did this.
Oh.
Like
Yeah,
that.
I
That's
don't
like
even view those kind
the
of
highest
situations as
degree
luck.
of luck to me in a tournament.
Yeah,
Like
you're
I
right.
lost the
No,
game.
it's
It's
the
by
same.
every like I'm out of this game. I lost, and my opponent's like, no, you
No,
win. Here you
No,
go.
it's the same logic as the team meme of just saying unlucky to the situations that are completely unskill based. It's you're lucky, like you're lucky that your opponent was a fool in that moment.
You're lucky for your pairing, basically.
Yeah, like
It's different
you,
things, but it's also like on my side, it could be like if I'm playing towards this like very, very narrow out where I have to like runner, hit these 3 hands back to back to back. It was like I played this game against Will at a Battle Harden. It was Lexi v Icelander. I'm at like 10 on turn 2. I'm like, this is fine. I'll just draw channel, or sorry, I'll draw Ice Vein, channel, and then I'll win. And then I drew Ice Vein, channel, and I won. Like that's that extreme luck where like if this happens, like I'm in. This is my event. Like it's clearly just supposed to happen.
So
So
I
I'm not
guess
gonna throw it away.
it's basically just about like when you feel the luck flowing through your veins, go super locked in because that's your tournament to win.
Correct. Or like other events, I'll be on the other end. It'll be like, oh, I can't lose unless he goes triple ice rain, and then he goes triple ice rain. It's like, all right, I guess I'll go get a snack or something.
I will say I took a page out of your book, Dan. It was like a year or two ago. Someone like chirped you in Discord. Like we were like watching your game, and someone chirped you for taking way too long to think about how to win the game. Essentially,
oh, playing around Sigil.
I don't remember what it was.
This
was a while ago.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were like basically going through how do I not toss this game? You're going through making sure you triple counted your math, all the different things, and you explained to them, like, there is no universe that I lose this game unless I make a mistake. I'm going to make sure that I never throw this game, and I'm going to triple check my math because, like, the time is not a factor in this game. Like, if we were playing a real-timed round, we would have plenty of time on the clock. So it is just 100% on me to win this game right now, or not lose this game, rather. So I'm going to do everything in my power to not lose.
Yeah, for additional context, it's like my opponent's at 1, I have 5 cards. They're dead by like 8 damage. I'm still going to tank and make sure I don't mess it up. And I've been doing this for like 3 years.
I literally took a page out of your book and started doing that. I was like, Tan, that's a really good point. I need to make sure that I don't toss the bag right at the end more often. And I started doing that. Like, I know I win here, but like,
I mean, sometimes you don't. Sometimes there's an out that you miss.
Or you could missequence it and you didn't realize something. Just like, oh, I played my cards in the wrong order.
I had a really funny moment of this into a Victor at the Battle Hardened at Nats, where I literally called it out. Sneep was sitting next to me, like watching this game, so he can validate. I like attack. They block for 4 with their shield and a card, and I like check grave and stuff, thinking like, okay, they only have 1 more blue Clash of Might that they could go to like redo this clash with. But I only realized this as I'm putting my next attack on the table and not closing the chain. And I'm like, oh, I should technically like be optimal and close the chain, so that way the shield like breaks and they don't have a goal to reclash, because they could theoretically go blue Clash of Might, lose it, re-roll it into Golden Sun, and then like maybe there's some crazy world where I lose. And then I attack with my next attack, and they actually have the last blue Clash of Might in that hand. They won the clash with no Golden Sun, but I was like, I need to get that Dan discipline back of just like, this is the only universe in which I lose this game, so I could just like play around it for free. It was just ironic that they actually had literally the 1 card in that situation. But yeah, so I think this habit of like making sure that you close out games you should win is great.
And like endgames and FAB are probably the hardest part of FAB too. So it's like we're spending the extra brain space on that.
Yeah, and that's where you should be. Like, I mean, we could talk for hours about this, but just like making sure you're keeping time on the clock by playing at a good pace when you should early, and then giving yourself that like window to have time in the end game to win.
Yeah, on the opposite side, I get very locked in when I get good luck, but I'm the most locked in when I'm on the other side of this scenario where like my opponent has all the advantage and they should never throw the game, but I'm going to find the way that I can win the game. That's when I'm the most locked. And sometimes I find the way.
So basically you just want games to be super high variance, right? That seems like when you get the most locked in is when either you or your opponent is extreme.
Well, I'm not saying this is a good thing. You should be the most locked in from the start, like I was in my prime. But nowadays, like, oh, I'm fucking up. I gotta fix this. I gotta solve this puzzle.
So if I'm playing against you, I need to make sure the game's like really even.
Oh, that's
and then
the
just
worst.
swindle you out of nowhere where you don't have a chance to lock in.
Yeah, we found the Dan counter.
Yeah, depends on the time of the day. That's pretty good. Pretty strong play.
Should have sat on the other side of the table.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
No, all good, man.
Alrighty. Thanks for watching. Again, check out the Metafy link in the description if you would like to submit any questions for next week and join the community. Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the envelope here, but
What we could do here is go ahead and play the envelope.
All 3 pitches of Envelope and Darkness.